That was me doing that, cleaning it up. Hello, my Teaserking family. Well, no problem getting on today. So I don't know if it was Halloween or the Russians or the Chinese causing us not be able to get on. And once I made it on, staying on was difficult as it kept freezing for you, but not for me. So let's get rid of that. How's everybody today? Hope everybody had a good Halloween. If you have one, I don't know. I'd prefer to give out silver dollars than candy. It's better for the kids' teeth. Looking at gold right now on the paper market, 1984. So it got to 2000, and now it's COMEX selling again because it got too expensive. Funny how as soon as it hits there, JP Morgan does its derivative. So we know it's blowing up soon. It is frustrating. Like, what the fuck? Why are they still, selling the derivatives? But they make money on the derivatives. It's all illegal. It's like I sell it to Bobby and Bobby buys it, and no gold ever changes hands. Silver's still sitting at 22.70. I'll probably run and buy more on Friday or Saturday. Another 10 ounces or so. Let's see. Finally heard from Daria, so she's fine. Going to Turkey, but she needs a passport. So this is the way an IFJ thinks. Do you have a passport? You're going to a different country. And she said, it's expired. I need to get a new one. So if we're going to go Christmas, then she has time to get the new passport because you need it for the ticket, and obviously you need it for the travel. So that's how an INFJ thinks, way 5-6 steps ahead, always. Let's see. Let's look at the lines. So anything anybody wants to talk about, let me know. We'll get more into economics. And, of course, the free markets, which aren't free. Okay. All right. So yesterday in college ball, Central Michigan beats Northern Illinois 37-31. Wins as a home dog. Buffalo and Toledo. Toledo wins 31-13. Over under 51, it goes under, which I was surprised by. This is why I didn't bet it. This is why I don't like these Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games, is because you really don't know what you're it's hard enough Saturdays, but on Tuesday, they're all out of routine. Toledo wins 31-13. You kidding me? Buffalo doesn't score. That's surprising. Anyway, so today we have Bowling Green. Let's see what the line is. I was just looking at the pro. FYI, so we got a pro game tomorrow. Pitt and Tennessee, which we'll look at injuries. We might have to look at it tomorrow. And then FYI, this Kansas City-Miami game is not in Kansas City. It's in Munich. We're going to Germany. So, again, it's a 9:30 game. I don't know what you do with this one. Again, time change is one thing. So they're playing 9:30 in the morning, which means they're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're in Munich. The jet lag, let's see, when I went to Frankfurt, which is near Munich, to go to to go to Portugal, it was, I want to say, I left Detroit to get to, I don't know. I want to say, well, it wasn't Philadelphia because that was the first time I flew out of there. Hey, Robert, how are you today? So it's I had to get from Detroit to like New York, and then from New York to Germany. Or maybe I flew Detroit. No, I think I flew Detroit right to Germany. So it was like 7 hours. And you're getting there at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, because the way they run the flight leaves at 8 o'clock at night. So at 3 in the morning, you're getting there, but add the 6 hours, so it's like 9 in the morning. So anyway, they've got that. I'm doing fine, Robert. I'm really in a groove picking the games, especially college now. So much more information, so I'm happy about that. I've been killing the free picks. I've been killing the locks, except for the Pittsburgh lock last week when Pickett goes down. So that's the way. It's been a little unlucky picking that, but otherwise all set. So I don't know. I would think KC. I don't know, when do they? Like they played Sunday, so I assume Monday night they're leaving because they can't leave much earlier, and it's always a night flight. So Miami's got to go 4 hours to New York and 7 hours there. Kansas City's got to get, so they're like 10, 11-hour flights for these teams. I'm from Detroit we went Munich, Frankfurt, whatever, first. And I was there when they had the game last year. I don't remember the game. My friend said, "Where are you?" I said, I'm in Munich or Frankfurt." He says, "Really?" I showed him the sign at the airport, like, "You're in Frankfurt." I've had a rough season so far, looking to bounce back in the later part of the season. Well, you've come to the right place, Robert. Just listen to my analysis, and then you can get the picks. I give a free pick just to help you guys. But the way I look at games is really, I want to bet on a strong defense and bet against a weak defense. And you got to understand enough about who they like. For example, like Michigan, you think has a great team and a great defense. They haven't played anybody. So you want a team that's played games with a good defense, like a Utah, like a Georgia, where they played a good team and they won, so they really are a good team. And that's really the filter that you look at. I track it by points as to see if they have a good offense and a good defense, which is the key. So when I get an offensive, so like last week, for example, in college, I had a lock of Cincinnati, Oklahoma State over. Oklahoma State's been red hot. They score a ton. They give up 26. Cincinnati's okay, gives up 26. It was only a 53-point over total. So I went over, and the final score is 45-13 of 58. Or the West Virginia UCF game, which was over 59. West Virginia wins 41-28. Well, both teams score a lot. Both teams have no defense. So the critical part I usually do is, if you bet a game, why did you bet it? You've got to understand why, and then it's how strong do you like it, and then how strong do you bet it. And you don't bet every game the same way. If you do, you'll never win. If you bet, especially I do teasers, right? So if I play 2 teasers, that's 4 teams. If I bet them both for $500, I'm probably going to lose 50. If the normal 11 to 10 juice, because I'm going to lose 550 on one and win 500, because it's very hard to go 4-0. So more than likely, I'm going to go 3-1, which means I got one loser in there, which one losing teaser, one winning teaser, I break even. So the only way you can really win is to find that strong team. That's why I call it a lock, because it's the industry term. But my favorite play, the best play, the biggest chance, like this Oklahoma State was a lock last week, right? Over. And you verify, you differentiate your betting because of what I just said. So you want to bet, you'd rather bet 750, 250 than 500, 500. You just got to make sure you hit your 750. But if you hit your 750, you can go 3-1, you lose your 250, whatever juice, and you win 500, and you went 3-1. So you can see how you can make money, but you got to analyze the games and know what you're looking for. I know people like to do algorithms or math formulas. You can't do it in football. There's too many variables that you'd have to put in. Injuries, the team's off the loss. It's a big game. You want to tease the dog. Look at Washington, Oregon. I tease the dog. Well, where would that be in your model? After it, though, then you've got the next week, you got Oregon off a loss. They killed somebody. Where's that in your model? So, I mean, that's why it's very hard to model it. This is all art, not science. But I've been doing it since '77, so I've seen everything. I've had the Steelers, I've had Montana, I've had Emmett, Jimmy Johnson at Miami, Jimmy Johnson at Dallas. You look for it, and you find it, and you pound it. And right now, it's Oklahoma State's the it team. Oregon's getting, or Utah's getting fucked because of Cam Rising. You understand that. Georgia is looking really strong. And then, so you're just breaking down the game. So that's what I do really good. So anyway, KC, Miami, again, it's in Munich. Is at least a 10-hour flight for these guys. Would have been at night. So it would have been, let's assume, Monday night, maybe Tuesday night. So they're all out. It takes a week for your clock, right? When I go to Europe, I am, I got to Barcelona Friday morning at 8. And believe me, you were out of it. Well, you hadn't slept Thursday night, right? So Friday morning you get there, you're asleep. You're up at midnight. You're up because it's 5 or 6 in the afternoon. So it takes you probably till Monday. So it takes you like 3 days. You're up, but you're real tired. So it takes you 3 days to get going. So here, if they get there, they leave Monday night and they get there Tuesday. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, they got to practice and learn how's KC going to handle Miami and vice versa. And they're playing Sunday at 9:30 in the morning, and they're not used to playing at 9:30 in the morning. This is the problem with this whole NFL now. It's really just they're out for money, but they're ruining the product because this will be a lousy game. There'll be who the hell is going to watch it? It's on the NFL Network. I'm not getting the NFL Network to watch it. So I don't know what they think they're doing. I guess Munich, they're paying them to get the game, and how do they benefit? I mean, the NFL in Europe, they don't care. I mean, they're worried about inflation and everything else, and all the crazies. They're not really. Let's go to the Chief game and against Miami. If I'm in Munich, their country's going bankrupt. Who has money to go to the game? They probably give out the tickets for free because I don't know. Seriously, the Euro's diving. What is it, $100, $200 to go to this? They can't afford to eat and heat their house. You think they're running to this game to see Miami and Kansas City? No way. Now that's obviously why Kansas City's there, because then they can say the Super Bowl champs, not the Lions or Atlanta. I mean, nobody would go to that. So anyway, just keep in mind that's a 9:30 game. So you probably want to bet that. Well, you want to bet it as soon as possible, but we've got to figure out how we're betting it. And then the rest of the action. I've given a free game. Kansas, Iowa State. Iowa State's 1.5, 54. Kansas, besides Oklahoma State, is extremely hot. They just beat Oklahoma. Iowa State, as we know, pretty much of an under team. Their defense is okay, but getting killed. The new quarterback's throwing a lot of interceptions. There's no way Iowa State has a better defense than Oklahoma and is going to stop them. I see Kansas winning again. In a teaser, we get 7.5 with Kansas. So we have the better team getting 7.5. I'm not afraid of Iowa State's offense. They don't have one. I'm not really afraid of their defense, and Kansas runs the ball down your throat anyway. They're a very good team with a great secondary. They hit. I saw some of these cornerbacks just level guys, making them fumble, knocking them out. I love it. So the free picks, Kansas and 7.5. And do I have a free pro? I'll have a free pro pick if I didn't. No, I got to come up with one. Anyway, pros, we got to look at injuries. who's the quarterbacks, and this is critical. Otherwise, that's one free pick. There'll be a second, so you can tease it. And that should be coming today. All right, so we went through yesterday's. So today we got Bowling Green 6.5, 40.5, but 741 is fine. Bowling Green switched to a running quarterback, Orth. Ball State's got Kelly. Ball State's the Z team. So I rank teams. Z teams means they suck. A teams means A teams are Georgia. Z teams are Ball State. They don't score and they give up 30 points a game. So if you have a good offense, you're going to dominate the defense. That's the point of it. If you're playing a really good defense, your offense isn't going to do anything. That's why I don't like to bet against Utah too often with like USC. I had Utah in the game. Surprised the game got that high scoring, but the defense will beat the offense 9 times out of 10. So I like Bowling Green in the game. I'm not going to bet them because I don't like these Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games when you play every Saturday. And these guys didn't play last week, so now it's really weird they're playing a Wednesday game. But I do think Bowling Green, they're the better team. Ball State's the Z team, and we're only laying 1. And we got a running quarterback who can throw a little bit. So like Bowling Green there. Kent and Akron. We've got Akron 3.5, 40.5. They're both Z teams. They both suck. Neither team has an offense. Neither team has a defense. Kent gives up 33, and Akron gives up 30. Now, again, this is a macro approach to the total. This is a 36, or this is like Kent gives up 33. But is that against Michigan or Georgia or, a team that scores 60 on them versus a MAC team? So I try to pull into the MAC. So if I go into the team, so we'll go into it. So if I go into Kent and I just look at their MAC games, right? Yeah, because they played UCF beat them 65-6. So it's going to skew their thing. Fresno beat them 53-10, but I will take Fresno. Just in the MAC, they still give up 24, 28, 42, 23, 53. So they're going to give up over 30, Kent. So the 33 is about right. They don't score in the MAC 10, 3, 17, 14. So they haven't scored 20 in a game yet. Then we look at Akron. Have they been skewed by the Michigan game or the Georgia game? Now, they didn't play that. The worst they played was a Kentucky 35-3. They played Indiana close, and then it was they lost. Northern Illinois put up a 55 on them, and Bowling Green put up a 41. They scored 27 against Indiana. Then it's been 10-14, 10-14. And they gave up a 41, a 17, a 55, a 13, a 29. So their averages are about right, about 30, upper 20s. You give a little edge maybe to Akron being at home. The quarterback's out irons. This is a game I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. 2 really bad offenses. I would think you would go under. The over-under is 41. But the problem is when I do that, when you got shitty defenses, they tend to score because the defenses can't stop a high school team, and off you go. Hey, Greg and John. Well, maybe Bobby, me and Bobby should run the team. Then we'd go to the Super Bowl in 2 years. Aiden O'Connell is starting. So who's starting the Thursday game, Greg and John? You're going to be my man. Tennessee and Pitt. We know Tannehill's hurt. We know Pickett's hurt. Are they starting? And this is your job. You got to get me Minnesota. Is that Hall from BYU going to start against Heineke for Atlanta? Is Walker starting for Cleveland? And is Stenson Bennett starting for the Rams or Stafford? And is Mayfield starting? And the grocery clerk still starting for Chicago. So I'm sure he'll be out there. He's better than Young anyway. And then who's starting the Giant game? Danny DeVito or Tyrod Taylor? And then you wish Prescott wasn't starting for Dallas, but he is. So can you get me the starting quarterbacks, Greg and John? We'll give you a free lock pick for that. So as you can see, Akron against Indiana scores 27 somehow, and that's their big thing. And it's odd; it's against Indiana. Irons played. Okay, so Irons got hurt in the game. That's the problem. So Irons, their starting quarterback's out for the year, and obviously the backups are terrible. They haven't done anything. All right, so that's tonight's game. So good luck on those. I don't bet. Maybe I'd bet Bowling Green, but probably not. I don't. It's because they're off schedule. You're not really getting the true team. So we've got to be careful there. TCU T-Tech. This is tomorrow. Yeah, it's November 1st already. Tomorrow, Texas Tech 2.5, 59.5 to TCU. TCU's starting quarterback's out. They've been using a backup. He's okay. Texas Tech's had quarterback problems also. So it's just a mess with the quarterback problems. This would be an easy lock over 59 normally. Wake and Duke 12.5, 44.5. This will be a very low scoring game. I like the under there. South Alabama, Troy 6.5, 45.5. I like South Alabama. They're the better team. They're the A team. Troy's been playing well, but I like South Alabama's quarterback. He's been good. Their defense, you got a 17 defense for Troy. That means what they give up. So Troy gives up 17 a game on defensively. South Alabama's a 21. So I think this is pretty even. I think South Alabama 12.5 is probably a pretty good play there. Friday night, we now go to Syracuse 351.5 against BC, Boston College. Syracuse faded. As soon as they played the good teams, they got killed by Virginia Tech. They got killed by Clemson. They got killed by North Carolina. I think there's one other one in there. They're terrible. Miami, BC's an over team, so they're scoring, give up 28. If we just look at Syracuse's last four, they're a Z team. The 24 came early in the year, not the last four games. They've been giving up 40 points. I like BC here, just the fact they score, and Syracuse, they've gone. I don't know. They're terrible. I mean, they were high scoring, but it was against Akron, and it was against very weak teams. That's why you can't you can't blend everything together. So in economics, it's a macro approach is the whole world. The micro approach would be just in conference here. So let's say it's Michigan. You can look at the total is macro, but the micro is the Big Ten. And that's what we always look at as the micro. It makes more sense, although I start off with the macro, and then usually it's pretty close. It depends on the team. But we understand like Colorado and USC are just over teams. They score, they have no defense. And then we get to teams like Utah who can't score and has a great defense. And Arizona is a great defensive team, as is in the Pac-10. Those two are the big defensive teams to worry about with all these explosive offenses. But the Big 12 and the Pac-10 are just they're great overs. They score and they can't play defense. Even Oregon, Washington, I was afraid of the over in the game. It went to 69, and it should have been more had Oregon kicked 2 field goals. I mean, these coaches are so fucking stupid. I don't know how any of them keep their jobs. You don't go 4th and 5 at the 5 with 10 seconds left in the half. You kick the field goal. You're going to need those points. And why is 4th down an automatic? They're going to get it. This is what I don't understand from the coaches. You got the points, take the points. Oh, you lost by 3. Oh, you didn't kick a 5-yard field goal. Oh, so you're an idiot. All right. I like spanking the coaches. I'm going to stick to college like you. Well, yeah, the NFL's a mess, but we still got some good games. Yeah, we got Joe Burrow. He's there. He's our hero. Joe Burrow. This will be an interesting game, Mahomes, but it's in Germany at 9:30. Let's fuck everything up. Um, there's a few, but it's like I think we look more towards unders now. So let's look at Minnesota, Atlanta. We possibly have Heineke against Hall from BYU. Well, where's the points going to come from? Or you go to the Rams in Green Bay. I love it if it's Stenson Benson at quarterback from Georgia against Love. I love that. I'll lock the Rams with that. I'll bet on Bennett, but there's a lot of teams when they lose the quarterback, Greg and John, it turns to a defensive game because where are you going to get the points from? But yeah, the Raiders. But you knew it wasn't going to work when they hired McDaniels. Here's a scumbag who was going to Houston, says I'll coach, and then backs out of it. This is a guy you want to coach your team. Who's going to respect him? The players hated him. He didn't know how to coach. He brings in Garoppolo. This is the best you can bring in, and you wonder why they fire him. Well, it's not. It's obvious. You never should have hired the guy in the first place. What the fuck are you doing? So I'm not surprised he's fired. I'm surprised they hired him. I'm surprised anybody hires a New England assistant. They have never worked out. What do you got? 10, 15 guys. Never worked out. Look at the Giants coach. How long are you going to keep that guy? What are you, insane? The Jet guy I love. Look at the Jet guy. He's turned it around. Boom. From Frisco. Okay, I get that. Maybe go to Kyle Shanahan and the guy at the Rams for their assistant coaches. They seem to have a head on their shoulders. The Saleh guy. Why would you go to Belichick? It's all Tom Brady. None of the offensive coordinators did shit. It was all Tom Brady. So they're all trying to take, oh, yeah, we were the offensive coordinator. Yeah, Brady called all the plays. If it wasn't for Brady, you wouldn't have won any Super Bowls. Stop. Give me a break here. All right. Friday night, Wyoming 7:43 to Colorado State. I like Colorado State in the 13er. Wyoming doesn't score, but Colorado State's an over team. So they give up 33 a game and they score. Wyoming is an E team. They score 25, they give up 26. So not that great defense they normally have. They're much better at home. Check the weather. Here I woke up. I go to the swim. It's fucking my car's iced up with snow and ice. It's 35 degrees outside. So watch that with Wyoming. They could get bad weather, but I have to do a little more research on Colorado State, but I think I like them getting 13 from a weak offensive team. Okay, we go to Saturday. We go to the noon games. And we start off with Tennessee 34.5, 52 to UConn. UConn's a W team with the 30 defense. So here's what I'm talking about, Robert. The 30 defense means Tennessee is going to go up and down the field on them, and they're not going to be able to stop them. And Tennessee just lost to fucking Bama. So I think and then they just beat Kentucky. Look for them to light it up here. I keep switching to the Texas game. Over under 52. The only way you get there is if Tennessee puts up 52 points. I don't see Connecticut doing much. They don't score. And Tennessee should light them up. Tennessee's much better at home with the crowd and emotion. I don't mind their quarterback, Milton from Michigan. He's okay. He's a good runner than a passer. They're just an explosive team. They got a 20 defense. Look for this game to be close to a shutout. They might get 7. Tennessee should get into the 50s. So let's check UConn and see what they've done against pretty good teams. Duke beat them 41-7, and they're not even an explosive team. Utah State 34-33. They beat Rice 38-31. And then they lost to BC 21-14. Maybe they're getting better. The Duke game, but then they come on. Maybe they change quarterbacks. So let's go to the Duke game. And Robertson was the quarterback. So now let's go to the Rice game. Robertson's still a quarterback. 15 and 19 for 200 yards. Wow. And Rice had Daniels throw for 360. Let's go to the BC game. Robertson, 11 to 24, 130 yards. They scored 14 in this game. They run Edwards. BC, Castellanos, 16 to 24 for 151. And they ran for 112. Hard to say there that they've been playing better games. But I think Tennessee, this is a type of game where Tennessee needs to win. They've lost to Alabama. They can't afford another loss, at least lost to Connecticut. They're going to get killed by Georgia, so they really need this game. But it's a big number, 35. I hate laying 35 with a team like Connecticut, who's been playing pretty competitively. BC and Rice are pretty good teams. So maybe we go over 52 because of the way UConn's been scoring. But Tennessee does have a good defense. Anyway, Wisconsin, 8.5, 43.5 to Indiana. You can only play this game under. Wisconsin, no quarterback. They're laying 8.5. I wouldn't even lay 2.5. Indiana's terrible. They give up 30, but Wisconsin doesn't have a quarterback to really injure them. And Wisconsin gives up 19, so it's going to be a low-scoring game. Indiana won't score much. Wisconsin doesn't have a quarterback to score much. Over under 44, so you can go under 50, I think is probably the best way. I wouldn't, without Mordecai, I'm going to lay 2.5. Are they going to win? Really? I don't know. I love the under last week against Ohio State. I never worried about that one. South Carolina, 14.5, 54. South Carolina is an over team, which I question. Their defense sucks. Jacksonville State, they're a B. They got an 18 defense, but they play Sunbelt teams. So I don't know. South Carolina needs this win. This is a watch game. Who's Aaron Pierce? Aaron Pierce used to be a tight end for Washington. I don't know if he played pros. Why? Where are you coming up with that? What see the quarterback for the Lions or what? Or is he the new coach for the Raiders? Maybe he's the new coach. So give him 3 games, he'll be fired. Ohio State, Rutgers. Ohio State, 18.5, 43 to Rutgers. Ohio State really weak offensively, gives up 10 a game. Rutgers is a very is a strong team with a strong defense that likes to run the ball. This is under all over it. Definitely an under. 49. That's a lot. See, it's a good under in the 40s. So you go under 50. Then you're allowing a punt return and a pick six and stuff like that. This should be very low scoring. Looks like the Wisconsin game. Tough defense in Rutgers. The only way they can win is to run. Their quarterback's not good. Ohio State's not very good either. If this is the best team in the country, whoever's doing this is out of their fucking minds. It's Georgia. It's, I guess, Oregon, Washington, and Florida State. And then Ohio State is with Michigan at like 5, right? And you've got your Pac-10 teams. I mean, you've got Washington and Oregon, and that's about it there. They all knock each other out. Utah would be there if Rising was playing. And then Georgia, Alabama, and then Florida State. And Oklahoma, Texas. I hate, Oklahoma beats Texas, loses to Kansas. All of a sudden, they're no good. Kansas would give anybody problems. Are you kidding me? They'd win the NFC Central or North. They'd win the Lions division. Put it that way. So, like this game under. Nebraska, Michigan State. Nebraska 3.5, 35.5. You got to love Nebraska here. Michigan State's terrible. All right, they're at home. Nebraska, I don't know. I don't like the team. I can't figure the team out. They switched to Heinrich Himmler as their quarterback, and they've been scoring better. Their defense is playing good. So Michigan State's the 28th defense. Nebraska's in 18. I think this is low scoring. I think Nebraska in 2.5 is an easy winner. I don't see Michigan State winning another game, and we'll see from there, but I don't know. Arkansas, Florida, good game. Florida 6.5, 48.5. Arkansas hasn't been the same this year. That Jefferson's not as strong. A lot of it is there a new offensive coordinator? Does the star receiver transfer go pro and they can't replace him? Do they change the offense like they did to Van Dyke at Miami? I mean, this is what you got to look at. But I think normally this would be a nice Arkansas at 13. They won't lose by 13. But Florida, Grammar, they're playing better. Over under a 48. Both defenses are 23. We should get scoring in the game. I think over 42, I think, wins the best play here. A&M and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, 4.5, 54.5. A&M's very good. They played Alabama really good. They played Tennessee very good. They're at Ole Miss. Ole Miss in the big games choke. 4.5, 54. I think you could play A&M in 10.5. I don't mind their backup quarterback. I don't know about over or under. A&M's got a really good defense, and so does Ole Miss. We saw Ole Miss against Alabama. They got 10 points. They didn't show up. So I think it's a dead even game. I think you take the 10.5 in A&M here. Where are we at? Kansas State and Texas. Texas 5.5, 51.5. I think you can take K-State. I think you can take the under. K-State, strong defense. They both have 16 defenses. They're both A teams. However, Texas is an A team with yours. He's out. I heard the backup quarterback from my buddy at BYU. He didn't do anything. They got a almost a pick six and a punt return. So now they only scored 21 on BYU. BYU's got no quarterback, so they couldn't really fight back. Texas has a strong defense. So does K-State. I think K-State keeps it close. I like the under better at 52-58. This game won't come close to it. I mean, they both have very strong defenses. I don't see where you're getting a lot of points here. Notre Dame, Clemson, Notre Dame 3, 45.5. Notre Dame's the A team. They really strong defense. They're not using Hartman right. They should be scoring a lot more points with Hartman. Offensive coordinator doesn't know what to do with Hartman. I would have, like, Oklahoma was smart enough when they brought in Gabriel to do the UCF offense, and they're lighting it up. But in this case, they didn't go to the Wake Forest offense, which is what they should have done. Hartman was throwing touchdowns all over the place. 45, they'd average 45 points a game, played Clemson pretty well. Notre Dame's offensive coordinator is not smart. Okay, G, thanks for paying. We can do that anytime you want. I already posted a really strong lock this week if you're interested, but I'll have more. There's so many college games we're going with. The free college is Kansas over Iowa State. Getting 7.5 is a joke. Kansas will win the game easily, and we're getting 7.5. Thank you, God. So I'm just trying to find the second half of it, but I think I found it about 5 times already. Let's see. So what do we got? So Notre Dame, yeah, they haven't figured out Hartman yet. So he's okay, but not where he should. They have great running and a great defense. Clemson, their quarterback, questionable. They have a good runner. Their defense just isn't as strong. How did they lose to NC State 24-17? Are you kidding me? I wish Clemson was favored. I'd lock Notre Dame in 9 all day in this game. But so you got Notre Dame -3. Do I like Notre Dame +3? Are they going to win for sure? I don't know. They struggled at Duke, and who's a similar. Duke's a little better defensively, so they've struggled there, but got the win. The Louisville game, they just had played, Ohio State. Even against Ohio State, they should not have struggled that much, but they didn't score. They did have great defense, stopping them at the 1 and the 10. So Notre Dame, I think this is probably an under game here, under 52 with this. They both have fairly good. Notre Dame's a 15 defense, and they're going to run it a lot. Clemson's 21. Look for them. Look for them for a couple turnovers. They got good running back, Clemson. So look for them to kind of run and, 24-21 at the end of the game. I got to green this. Okay. Let's see. So we're still at noon. Why is Notre Dame Clemson a noon game? What the fuck? That should be a night game, or at least a 3:30. What do they think? These TV people think we do at noon on Saturday? We're not sitting home to watch college football. Now we'll be home for dinner for college football or the 7:30 games, but we're not sitting around at noon going, oh, good, the Clemson Notre Dame game's on. I think I'll sit around while it's nice out. They don't have a freaking clue, these guys. Virginia, 2.5. Okay, here we go to 2 o'clock now. Virginia, 2.5, 54.5. Really hasn't moved. Georgia Tech's the better team here. Virginia, they're scoring 25, giving up 30. Georgia Tech's an over team, giving up 31. I can't believe this won't be a high-scoring game. I got to check the quarterback, but Virginia Tech gives up 30. Georgia Tech scores. I mean, that's one thing they've been doing. They give up 31 also, but they've been scoring, except for that Miami game where they didn't score. But they've had some big games and some strange losses. To Bowling Green, they lost. I mean, it was what the hell. So I got to check their quarterback, Muscat, and then I can see if I'm going to go over on this game, but probably will. Virginia just came alive. They just beat North Carolina, and I think they won last week. Who'd they play last week? But I thought they won. I think they've won. Yeah. No, they lost to Miami 26. You put up 26 on that defense. That's a 55. This game, all we're asking for is 48. Georgia Tech lights it up. They beat North Carolina and almost beat Miami. Miami's coach probably still didn't take the knee. How that guy keeps his job, are you fucking kidding me? How the offensive coordinator didn't get fired from Miami and how the coach didn't get fired and the defensive coordinator for that last sequence at Georgia. They're all incompetent. I mean, how do you sit there with a straight face and, yeah, Cristobal's my coach? Oh, the guy that didn't take a knee at the end of the game. Yeah, good point. Greg John, T.O. TK, they should bring back. Oh, no, don't go to Carson Wentz. So I'm confused, Greg John. Who's Aaron Pierce? Used to play, I think. They should bring back Wentz. So what is that? You've got me, Greg John. I don't know who should bring him back, or is this T Bay? What are you talking? Who's Aaron Pierce? Answer that question. All right. Navy 7 to Temple 41.5. Navy's they're not scoring this year. They got a 22 defense. Temple's a Z team, giving up 38. I think Navy can win the game, not by a lot, but they're really bad this year. They're just not scoring, and they really won't be able to take advantage of Temple's bad defense because, you want a good quarterback to pick them apart, but Navy doesn't throw the ball that much. This is a game I'd be watching. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you go under, but there's too many games I like. Arizona State, Utah. Utah 10.5, 42.5. Utah, we know without Rising, they're a good defensive team. They lack they're running, but they lack quarterback play. Arizona State is a W team. It's getting better. They give up 26 a game. Over under 42. I want to go into Arizona State. They played Washington State 38-27. At Washington 15-7. They give up only 15. 27-24 with Colorado, 24-21 with Cal, 42-24 with USC, and Oak State beat them 27-15. So the last 5 games, they've scored in the 20s, except for Washington. They got 7, and then they gave up. I don't know what happened with the Washington game, 15-7. Everything else has been a normal scoring game. Of course, that was against USC, Cal, and Colorado, very explosive teams, and they really held them down pretty good. Believe me, keeping Cal and Colorado to 24-27 is big, and keeping Washington State to 27 and winning. With all that said, I think Arizona State's a good play here. Getting 10.5. They seem to play well, but this is a defensive team. So I guess we go to Washington, and they only put up 7. So probably an under because it's Utah. Utah, they're not going to score a lot on Utah. And Utah should just run it down their throat. So I would think this would be a low scoring 42-48. It's okay. It's not great, but yeah, it's got to be low scoring. That Washington game. Because the other games, Colorado, Cal, and USC, you're basically playing very explosive teams and only giving up 27-24. And Washington State, you're only giving up 27-24. But against somewhat of a defense, Fresno State, they scored nothing. And Washington, they scored 7. So they did have trouble against strong defensive teams. So I'll look for them to have trouble here. I think it's under is the only way to play this. 48. Utah's not going to score. Okay. Army and the Air Force, 18.5, 35. Hasn't really moved. All right, let's make this the other free play. It's like double jeopardy here. You got to find both. No, what is that? Match game. You got the car, and then you got to find the car, right? Here's the other free play. Air Force, I know it's a low number, 35. I love the game under 41. Air Force is just very strong defensively, giving up 13. Army's terrible offensively. Air Force might score, 24-0. Army will hold them down because they know the offense, but I don't see 50 points in this game because Army knows Air Force's offense very well, that they can practice it. This game's normally low scoring. Army's defense will hold them in for a while. They won't score anything. 18's too big of a number in this type of game. It's a rivalry game. So I don't like the 12, although I think that's a winner. I think this is 24-0, I think. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So go under. Free play. Air Force under with Army and Kansas getting the points. No over, no under. So what I try to do is look for the best of the 4. Do I want the favorite, the dog, the over, the under? That's what I look for. This one's definitely low scoring, and Kansas is definitely 7.5. Fucking joke. All right. Lou Lafayette, Arkansas State. Lou Lafayette, 9.5, 16.5. They're the over team. Arkansas State's a W team. They don't score a lot. They give up 34. Lou Laf should have a fun day today. Scoring 9.5. I would just lay the 3.5. I really wouldn't go totals. South Florida, Memphis, 13.5, 66.5. Well, I got them both as over teams. South Florida gives up 34. Memphis only gives up 25, but they score a ton. Over under a 66. I think this is a little bit high to go over, but I think it's an over game. I was noticing that last week. They played some, they had like a 70 over under, and they got to 90. So, not really sure. At what stage do we say that's too high? But I don't know how strong South Florida's offense is. I'll have to check that out. UTSA 6.5, 69 in North Texas, two explosive teams. Frank Harris is back, so they are scoring again. North Texas scores a ton. North Texas gives up 37. They're the over team. UTSA giving up 25. Over under here of 70. So let's look at North Texas. And let's see. Now, they just played Memphis to an 87. That's my point. Tulane was a 63. Temple, they beat 45-14. Navy actually beat them 27-24. Abilene Christian, they beat LTAC, Florida International, Cal. Cal beat them 58-21. Yeah, that was probably the lockover of the year. So Memphis gets them 45-42. Tulane, who's a very good team, let's take that 35-28. Tulane wins. That's a 63. This is 70. It's a very close over. But clearly they're giving up. Well, Temple doesn't count. Even Navy, Abilene Christian got 31 on them. So the couple of teams that are good, Tulane and Memphis, they gave up 40 points. So they'll give up. UTSA will score 40. North Texas will be in the 40s. I think you get to 80, 70, 64. Yeah, probably an over game. Florida Atlantic, UAB. Florida Atlantic, 2.5, 59.5 on the road. They're an E team. The defense gives up 24. UAB's an over team. They score, but they give up 38. It's hard to take 8.5 with a team that gives up 38 because you need a stop, and you're not going to get one. Over under a 59. Does Florida Atlantic score enough? Let's check out Florida Atlantic. They put up 38 on Charlton. They got 10 on UTSA, 56 on South Florida, 20 on Tulsa, 17 on Illinois. Let's go into detail, I guess, on the Charlton game. I mean, Richardson, 19 of 26, 218 yards and 3 interceptions, and no running on Charlton. Charlton just for Joe, a 9 for 14 quarterback and an 8 for 15 quarterback. And no running. Okay, so let's try the UTSA game. Frank Harris, 26-35, 261, 2 touches, 2 interceptions. I'm in Florida Atlantic. Okay. Harris ran for 19-53. All right. Florida Atlantic. Richardson, 19 of 34, 142 yards and 2 picks. Ran 5 times. So if the guy can't pass and he runs 5 for a negative 34, why is he in the game? A terrible quarterback. So you can't bet over on this. So you really can't go 2.5 because they're not going to, 36 to UTSA, Tulsa 48, Clemson 48-14, Ohio 17-10. They're all over the board, Florida Atlantic. You can't count Charlton, they're Division II. So UTSA beat them. Southern Florida, they killed. So it's really hard to figure out. So they're all over the place. I don't know. Let's ignore them. Coastal Carolina, 1.5, 51.5. To Old Dominion. Old Dominion's an E team, gives up 26. Coastal Carolina, McCall's out, so they went with Guess as the quarterback. So I don't know if they're a B team with this guy. I don't know if they can be a road favorite without McCall. 20 defense. Old D is a 26 defense. Maybe you go under. The fact that McCall's not there, they probably won't score as much. So here's where you take advantage of McCall being out, going, oh, this other guy's not going to do much. So then you go under in that. Anyway, UCF, Cincinnati, UCF 4.5, 58. UCF's an over team. They give up 30. Cincinnati's an E team that gives up 28. Let's check Cincinnati out. I don't know if they've been all that lately. They lost to Oak State 45-13. They lost to Baylor 32-29. Iowa State 30-10. BYU. See, they haven't been Oklahoma 20-6. They lost to Miami of Ohio. Cincinnati's terrible. Wentz sucks, Greg and John. Sorry about that, boys. So Cincinnati's lousy. I mean, they're losing to Oak State, Baylor. What is this? UCF's a road favorite. So you can't take Cincinnati in 10.5. I mean, they've been getting, they played Baylor at home 32-29, lost 30-10 to Iowa State, 35-27 at BYU, Oklahoma 20-6. They lost to Miami of Ohio, who's a good MAC team, 31-24. The only team they beat's a lousy Pitt team. Oh, and Eastern Kentucky. So are they really an E team? If we take away the 66-13 win over Eastern Kentucky, which we will, they're about, 20? There's 6 on Oklahoma. They put up 10 on Iowa State, 13 on Oak State, a couple of 27. So they're about a 20. I'm going to call them a W, actually. And then defensively, they give up a hell of a lot more than what do I got them? I got them giving up 28. It's probably more like, the last 4, 30, 60, 5, 10, 12, 1, 5, 8, 11, 14, divided by 4. 40, 30. It's in the 30s. So they're like a 32. So they have no defense, but their offense is kind of weak. So this is what I'm worried about with Cincinnati, about going over. I don't think they have it. They're loud. It's at. If it was at UCF, I would take UCF. I gotta let this go. I'm not going to play it over. Although UCF should score a lot on them, I don't trust USC. So it's probably actually a UCF get the 1.5 because Cincinnati's terrible. All right. Let's see. Who's their quarterback? What's going on here? Emory Jones, 6 of 16 for 117. Then Lichtenberg came in 5 of 9 for 48 yards and a touchdown. They kind of ran for 79. Well, they got a little bit of running. Oak State. Yeah, Bowman, 17 to 34, 286, 2 touchdowns. So really, let's take a quick look at UCF as long as we got them here. UCF, let's look at them against West Virginia, 41-28. Yeah, Plumlee, the quarterback, 25 at 36, 274 yards. 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. Then he ran for 45. Harvey ran for 100. So we've got Plumlee, who's a pretty good quarterback. This is an interesting play here. They can win with Plumlee. Cincinnati, God, are they bad? But they don't have the defense. They give up 30. I'm going to watch this, but I think UCF wins the game. My bet. All right, 3:30. We got Florida State, Pitt. Florida State 21.5, 50. Pitt, we saw lose to Notre Dame by 700 points. Florida State, we know they're to me they're number 2. It's Georgia, Florida State. They beat LSU. They beat Clemson. See, that's the problem. Oh, well, Clemson's not good. Well, yeah, but they beat them. That's the point. You can't look after the loss and say, well, they're not good. Well, they just lost. It's like Oregon, Washington. Who's the better team? Okay, Washington beat them at home by a field goal because they scored late because Oregon's coach fucked up and didn't kick 2 field goals and didn't punt with the ball at the 50 with a minute left. Does that mean Oregon's not a good team? Come on. This doesn't work in the pros that way. Detroit beat Kansas City. I wouldn't say Detroit's the best team in the league, and I wouldn't say Kansas City sucks, even though they lost to the Lions. It is an embarrassing moment. So you got Florida State an A and 18. You got a really good quarterback. Pitt's a W. They give up 28. Florida State should roll over under a 50. What's Pitt going to give you? How good's their quarterback? And that's the problem. So pretty weak. Let's dive into Pitt here. So if we look at Pitt, let's look at the weight game. Their quarterback is Villawu, 28 of 45 against Pitt. Let's see what he did against Notre Dame. 14 of 29, 127 yards and 4 touchdowns. So you can see against a Wake, he's okay, but against a good defense, 4 interceptions, no touchdowns, 120 yards, and they lost 58-7. So that's really what you're looking at, and they're going to play a good defense. So he's going to be gone. Does Florida State roll at 3:30 at Pitt? It's not a night game. I think they do. They've got the defense. That's what you always want. We know Travis is a good quarterback. They need the game. They're top. This is the difference in college. They can't lose because they're in the playoff if they win out. They got Miami coming up and whatever in the conference championship against either Clemson or Miami, I guess. So Pitt's very weak this year. They are at home, but their defense sucks at a 28. And now Notre Dame got rolling on some interception returns, and was it a punt they got muffed that they scored a touchdown on? There's a lot of weird touchdowns. Florida State should be motivated. It's a lot to give on the road in conference, though. All right. Penn State, Maryland. Penn State, 11.5, 50.5. To Maryland. They're both A teams. Penn State gives up 11. Played Ohio State tough. Maryland, they're not with the big boys. They don't, let's see how they were. I know they played Ohio State. Let's use Ohio State as the barometer here. They just lost to Northwestern 33-27. They lost to Illinois 27-24. They lost to Ohio State 37-13. They beat Indiana, Michigan State, big deal, Virginia, and two high school teams. So basically, the last 3, they've scored about 22, giving up 30. Hardly an A team, hardly a 20 team. So I like Penn State here -5. I think they lost to Ohio State, so they have to win. They got Michigan coming up, I believe, next week. They just lost to Northwestern 33. So this is really not an under game. At 50, again, Penn State brings the defense. Let's see what they've been doing lately. They beat Indiana 33-24, Ohio State 20-12, UMass doesn't count. Northwestern 41-13, 31-0 over Iowa, which is good over that team, to score 31. Illinois 30-13. The Delaware game padded their stats. So let's look at the last four. Well, let's look at the last four Big Ten games. 31-0, 41-13, 12-20 to Ohio State, 33-24. So against a normal team, which is Maryland, they should put up in the 30s. Maryland gives up. Yeah, this is Penn State for sure here. Lay the 5. Yeah, no problemo. So Greg and John, weren't you the one that asked me about the World Series, or was that Prophet? So I said take Texas, and Texas is going to win it whenever they play it. All right, Tulane, 16.5, 48.5 to East Car. Tulane's the A team with the 20 defense. East Car's a weak team with the 26 defense. Let's just go into East Car. We know Tulane, excellent team, great quarterback, should be a high first rounder. They just lost to UTSA 41-27. SMU 31-10, Rice 24-7. Yeah, they beat Gardner-Webb. What the fuck is that doing? They did play Michigan 30-3. So it's weird. They play Michigan and Gardner-Webb. You throw those two out. And they give up, except for Charleston, you throw out their Division II. It's amazing they lost to Charlton. So if we look at their last four games, 43, 24, 31, 41. So they're going to give up 40 to Tulane. Tulane's, yeah, let's take Tulane here. Lay the 10. Absolutely, Tulane will kill them. All right. 14, we're giving up 10. Penn State, Tulane, I mean, they're just solid. Louisville, 9.5, 48.5 to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's a B team. They've been playing very well. They give up 23. Louisville's an A team giving up 18. We know they beat Notre Dame. The Duke game doesn't count because Riley Leonard wasn't really he played injured. They seem to be good. They should have a good offense with their offensive coordinator. They're laying 10 to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's not that bad. 23-18. Maybe you go over to 48-42, but Louisville's more of a defensive team. I'm not sure. Maybe it's an under, but Virginia Tech could score. I need more research. Iowa Northwestern, Iowa 5.5, 30. Major college football, you got a team with an over-under of 30. Wow. Iowa doesn't score. Quarterback's out, McNamara, give up 14 a game. Northwestern just beat Maryland. Even team gives up 26. I like Northwestern. I think, well, I got to check the quarterback. I think he was injured, Northwestern. We're not sure how severe. If he's out, then I can understand the under 30 because Iowa's just going to run the ball. If he plays, I probably still like the under, but I might take the 11.5. Yeah, we need to check the injuries there. But if he plays, Northwestern 11.5, they just beat Maryland. They're playing much better. They're throwing the ball all over the place. So they realize they don't have a running attack. It's like 1981 with Joe Montana. They didn't have a runner. Bill Ring was the runner, so he would throw all these short passes. That was their running attack. That sounds like what Northwestern's doing. They're doing all these short passes. That's their running attack. James Madison, 5.5, 54.5 to Georgia State. James Madison's a really good team. They're the A team. They give up 20. Georgia State's a B team. Just got killed by Georgia Southern last week on Wednesday or Thursday. They are a 26 defense. So if you look at that score, it was 44-27 Georgia Southern. It's hard to say because James Madison's a very good defensive team. Good quarterback. Georgia State at home should do well. I don't know. That one I don't know. Probably gets over because Georgia State seems to be able to score and doesn't have a real strong defense. So we'll see. Illinois, Minnesota. Minnesota 341.5 against Illinois. Illinois is a W, gives up 28. Minnesota's an under. They don't score. Their quarterback sucks. They give up 22 a game. So they're getting better defensively. So if I look at this, let's look at Minnesota last three. Beat Michigan State, which is a high school team, 27-12. Iowa, 12-10. Lost to Michigan, 52-10. Beat Lou Lafayette, which is probably their best win, 35-24. So Iowa game and Michigan State, they don't have offense, right? So to beat them 12-10 and 27 isn't that big of a deal. Michigan putting up 52, who knows? And so we will see. And they're playing who? Illinois. And the Illini blew the Wisconsin game to Humpty Dumpty, beat Maryland, lost to Nebraska, lost to Purdue. So Illinois is pretty bad. They got psyched up for the Wisconsin game because it was where Humpty Dumpty used to coach. But they beat Maryland. Let's look at their quarterback here, Illinois. Yeah, this Altmaier, 13-21, 100 yards. He ran for 100, so he's one of these running quarterbacks that can't throw. It's like Lamar Jackson. Wisconsin locked, 21-41, 240 and 2 touchdowns. Allen, their running back, 19 for 145, and they won 25-21 with 18 in the fourth quarter. So it's 21-7 Illinois. They should never lose that game. Where was I? Wisconsin. Well, we know they just got beat by Ohio State. Is that where I'm at? No, I'm at Illinois. So Illinois loses to Wisconsin, beats Mary, loses to Nebraska, loses to Purdue. They played their best game against Wisconsin because that's a big game against Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty is the coach of Illinois, used to be the coach at Wisconsin, who looks like he looks like Humpty Dumpty. That's where I'm getting it from. They beat Maryland. Nebraska, Purdue killed them. So I can't really be all over Illinois. They are playing a little bit better. Minnesota, I don't know if they can be a favorite either. Both teams weak. Now, why do I go through this exercise? Because I want to see teams how they're progressing. So there are a certain team in the beginning of the year, maybe they change quarterbacks, maybe there's an injury to the quarterback, maybe they switch defenses, maybe they get guys healthy or get guys hurt. So I want to see, I'm again seeing the macro, right? I'm seeing the whole big picture, but I really want to see the last 3 or 4 games probably at this stage. I don't really care about the first week. I don't care about the high school game. Or in this case, where Bowling Green played Michigan. Well, let's throw that out. But let's look at look at Wisconsin, Maryland, Nebraska, Purdue. Okay, the last 4 games, they lose 44-19 to Purdue, 20-7 to Nebraska. They beat Maryland 27-24 and lose 25. So I noticed the last 2 weeks they're playing pretty good against Maryland and Wisconsin, who aren't bad teams. So they're getting better. Can I take them +9 against Minnesota is what I'm looking for. Minnesota, held two very weak offenses, Iowa and Michigan State, to low scoring. Are they getting better? Well, we really need to see. Who am I looking at here? We really need to see Minnesota. We saw them against Michigan. They gave up 52. Okay, so what do we got? Again, what's Illinois? They're a W, but are they a W? Well, the last 4 weeks, they're probably a 20. So yeah, they're probably a W still. They're not scoring a lot. Do they need a lot against Minnesota? Probably not. They're probably a live dog here. Do I go over, under? Maybe I go under 42. I'm not really sure, but we will see. So anyway, that's what we're looking at. It's not a game I trust. It's not like all of a sudden Illinois went to Joe Montana and I'm going, fuck, he's lighting it up. Like I saw with Van Dyke and Rising, right? That's why I looked. All of a sudden they switch quarterbacks. I'm expecting to see 15s in the scoring. I see 45. I go, well, what happened? Oh, who's Van Dyke? 45, 45, 45. The totals we're in the mid 40s. I got the guy throwing for 40 on his own. That's what I'm looking at. So you always want to see what's happening, not just take this big snapshot of Illinois scores 20, gives up 28 for the whole year. In their case, it's pretty accurate. Minnesota's, their defense had injuries, is getting better. Maybe this is an under. I'm going to put an under in, but I'm not going to play it. But I think that's the only way you can play this. Well, I mean, do you want to trust Illinois in 9? That boils down. Do I want to bet money on Illinois in 9? No fucking way. All right. Where are we? Oh, we're just getting to the meat of the schedule. Baylor, 4.5, 56.5 to Houston. Baylor Shapen is back, so it skews they're a W team, but with him back, they're not. So let's look Shapen. Let's say the last 2 games. And all of a sudden it was 32 against Cincinnati and an 18 against Iowa State. Yeah, that's a weird game there. But against Cincinnati with the weak defense, a 32. Where Houston scores. So is Shapen back going to do it? Houston's an over team, gives up 33. So we've got 2 weak defenses. So we are liking the over. Now, if we keep this in perspective, Iowa State's a very strong defense. What are they? They are where's my Kansas? They're a 20 defense. So in recollect, for Baylor to put up 18 against a strong defense, okay. Cincinnati is what, a 30 defense? We saw them up the road here. Cincinnati. Where are you guys? There they are. They're a 32 defense. Well, yeah, okay. They were a 26. Let's call them a 32 now. So against the 32 defense, they put up 32. Texas Tech, I don't think they had Shapen back for that. They put up 14. Shapen, yeah, it was 22 of 38, 324, and 1. But they're not running. Baylor's not running the ball against Iowa State. Shapen, 24 of 41, 239, and they're not running the ball. So you're not getting running from Baylor, which is what usually you get, a really balanced attack from Baylor. So you're not getting that. They're at home. Weak deep. Houston should light them up. What Baylor should light up Houston. It's only a 56, so I like the over of 50. I don't think that's asking too much, a 28. They played a 48 with Iowa State, a 60, a 50-something with Texas Tech, a 61 with UCF. Texas beats them 38-6. That's what you expect. Texas with the strong defense. Plus, I think Shapen got hurt in that game. So should be the Baylor defense is kind of weak. So Houston should score, and Baylor He's still throwing a lot, so I think he scored. I don't think that Houston's going to do much. So, yeah, I like this over 50. I think is a very good play. Baylor's not, he was hurt. He's coming back, so you got to watch that with Shapen. Oklahoma, Oak State. Oklahoma 6.5, 62.5. What can I say? I love the way Oklahoma State played their last. They beat K-State, Kansas, West Virginia, and last week they pounded somebody. They beat that's Oregon State. That was one of my locks. Oregon, Oak State, 45-13 to Cincinnati. That was a lock over, and it got there. You can play Oak State in 12.5. Now they are doing what Kansas did. Kansas beat Oklahoma, put up 39 on them, should have scored more. The game's at Oak State. I know Oklahoma normally wins this game, but this is not. This is Oak State looking incredible. And if you get scared of Oklahoma's defense, they're a 19. Well, Oak State's a 24. But if you look at it, the way Oak State's been playing, they've been putting up 50 points on Kansas State and Kansas. Kansas isn't a great defense. Kansas State's defense is a 16, and they lit them up. And then they lit up West Virginia, who is also a very strong defensive team. If I can find them here in my mix. West Virginia's they're at 27. Well, probably after Oak State got done with them. So Oak State's scoring a lot. I think you can go Oak State. I think you can go over 62 down to 56 in this game. You can go dealer's choice, whatever you want. The way Oak State's playing. So this goes into my equation. The last four, you killed Kansas State, you killed Kansas, you killed West Virginia at West Virginia, and you just killed, Cincinnati, who's a fairly good defensive team. They're 26. So we see Oklahoma, Kansas. We see them against Texas. So let's look at Texas and Kansas. 34-30, you beat Texas. The point is Texas scored 30 on them. And then last week, my Kansas team, I called it 39 or 38, 32, 33, something like that. So you have that. So it's not like their defense. This is where you get the macro micro look. The macro look, look at Oklahoma's defense, 19. Well, what's in there is that 73-0 opening win against Brother Rice High School. So you've got a 0 in there against the Division II or a weak, very weak team. But when you pull the covers back and you see them against Kansas State, Kansas, I don't think they played Kansas State yet. You see them against Kansas, you see them against Texas. They're giving up 30-some points in each of those games. There's no way they are not giving up 30 points here. It's like my cousin Vinny. There's no way that we're not going to have a trial when two New Yorkers shoot a good old boy. And there's no way you're not getting 56 points in this game. That's a fucking joke. Absolutely. So I love it both ways. I love Oak State to win. I like Oaks over 56. We know Oklahoma can score, but we know Oak State can score, and Oklahoma's defense isn't that strong yet. So this is picking up. So if you just looked at Oak State, they're a B team that gives up 24. But if you look at the last four, they're like Superman. They're like an over team. They score 35 and they give up. They're probably still giving up 25, but they're explosive as hell against good teams. That's the problem I have with Michigan. You're beating whom? UNLV, Bowling Green, Minnesota, Northwestern, Nebraska. Really? This is your resume. You haven't played a good team yet to beat them. But look what Oak State's doing, man. West Virginia and Kansas State, and then Cincinnati. And now you got Oklahoma. This is my point, how the rankings are bullshit. So Michigan plays nobody, is undefeated, and they're number 2, 3, 4 in the country. When Oak State, who might have lost the game, would beat them handily. I mean, with the way they're playing, fuck it, you got to be kidding. Oregon and Oak State should be in the top 5 the way they're playing. Notre Dame had their chance, had a tough time with Duke, had a tough time with Louisville. I'm shocked. I'm shocked how good Louisville is, I guess, against Virginia Tech. Yeah, I'll have to relook at that one, but just shocked that Notre Dame I can't believe they lost to Ohio State. That was ridiculous, but it's really bad coaching. That's why we bet coaches. You must bet good coaches. That's why I bet Coach Pete in the NFL, the Rams coach sometimes, Pittsburgh's coach. There's not a lot of good coaches in the NFL, so there's only 4 or 5. And I bet the Jets a lot because I love that coach. He knows how to coach. Hey, Nick. All's pretty good so far. FSU is the number 1. They can't beat Georgia. I don't think anybody can beat Georgia because Georgia now has a good quarterback, and they are scoring, and they still have that defense. And when they need it, they turn it up and put pressure on you. I mean, okay, Florida State beat LSU, who we see is really not that good. They beat Clemson, who we see is really not that good. I do like Travis. Can their defense handle Georgia's offense? And can their offense handle Georgia's defense? So right now, Georgia's here and everybody else is there. I think Florida State's number 2. And then I think it's Oregon, Washington, Ohio State, maybe. I don't think they're that good. Michigan, they can't even be in the top 10 until they beat somebody. Let's see. Georgia, Alabama's been playing well. Missouri's been playing very well. Oak State, like I said, I think Oak State's a top 5 team, and I think Oregon's a top 5 team. You get stuck on the record. Look at the fucking Oregon schedule. They got to play Washington. They got Utah. They got Oregon State, Washington State. Who do they got this week? They got another strong Oregon. They got Cal. They're laying 24 to Cal. They'll never cover that. You got to be kidding. But again, look at this Pac-10, right? And there's Michigan. We beat Rutgers and Nebraska. And fuck, if you played the schedule that they play, Cal is an outstanding team, as I pointed out, and they gave USC 50-49. They killed, they played Oregon State, another 90-point game. Cal is extremely explosive. You don't have like that in the Big Ten. You have nobody in the Big Ten. So Oregon's getting fucked because they have a loss at Washington by 3 because their coach is too stupid to kick 2 field goals and too stupid to punt the ball at the end of the game, making them go 95 yards because he doesn't understand psychology. If you're out there and they go for it on 4th and don't make it, you're psyched up. And now all you need is a touchdown to win and you got the ball at midfield, you're positive. However, if you punt the ball to them at the 5-yard line, your team's psyched up. Oh, we nailed them down. They look at it and go, fuck, we got to go 95 yards. It's not going to happen. And Oregon wins the game. So Oregon coached, lost them the game. The team's very good. So hard to bet against Oregon, although I think Cal 30 is probably the easiest dog you could ever bet in your life. Fuck, are you kidding? That's probably as easy as the Kansas as a dog against Iowa State. I mean, that's a fucking joke too. See, I agree that Georgia is very strong, but not as strong as last year, which scares me. They're stronger than last year. Their offense is like Alabama used to be, but their defense is still there. Now, the fact that teams are scoring on them, yeah, maybe their defense isn't 2 years ago, but their offense is so much better that overall the team now you can't stop their offense, and you're still going to have problems with their defense. So yeah, they're not playing 57-0 anymore or 38-0 like they did every time, but they're the best team. They would beat the NFC North, the AFC South, the NFC Central. They would win all those divisions easily. Who's going to beat them? What? Georgia killed the Lions, Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago. Are you kidding? If Georgia played Chicago, they'd be laying 14, and they'd win. They're playing a grocery store guy at quarterback. I mean, it's not even close. Georgia is so much better, but the only team I think can handle Georgia is a team like an Oregon or Washington if they're on. A team with a defense, because you got to hold down that offense and you got to be able to score. So maybe like Stroud did last year when he ran around and they weren't playing. He never ran before. I was out for, he didn't run against Michigan. God knows we got killed taking Ohio State as the dog in that game because Stroud looked like shit. So I don't know where he got that from, but yeah, they're Georgia's number one by a mile. Don't kid yourself. He'll be back. Yeah, he should be the number one pick. Now he's supposed to be back probably for the SEC championship game. We'll see. It says late November, so I don't know. Did he break his ankle or what? How bad the break? I saw the play. All he did was run out of bounds. I didn't really catch what he had done, but yeah. See, the new quarterback was using him very strongly. So now they got backup tight end who looks just as strong. So don't fuck around with Georgia. You don't want to do it. Right now, go pick on, go pick on Auburn, Vandy, or something like that. But you don't want to fuck with Georgia. Just the hot team: Oak State, Kansas, Missouri. I'm smelling an upset in the Georgia-Missouri game, which I'm about to get to. So let's get there. Georgia's 16.5, 56.5. For the first time in 2 years, I had Georgia over in the championship game, and I'm taking Georgia over here, not under, because Missouri is lighting it up. They look outstanding. Georgia's scoring, and Missouri's not going to stop them. Missouri with a 23 defense, Georgia with a 14. But Georgia against Florida, they gave up 20 points. They're gonna give up 20 some to Missouri. They're gonna score probably 30 some here. This will be a 65, 70 point game, and it's at 56 over 50. The way Georgia's playing offense, this is easy. And I'd prefer 62 under, but I don't. Georgia's just too powerful offensively now. You never got the big scores from them. They'd score 35-0, and you'd go, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll lay anything in the 50s. I'll lay under," and it was 50 every week, and every game was 35-10, 35-0. Look at the Tennessee game, 26-12. I mean, and the over/under was like 60. So let's see Missouri here. Let's see if I've got this pegged. They've been playing very strong. I've picked up on South Carolina 34-12, Kentucky 38-21, LSU, they lost 49-39, 38 on Vandy, 34 on Memphis, which is good. K-State 30-27. So let's take the K-State game. Strong defensive team. They put up 30. So they put up 30 the last 6 weeks. Cook looks very good. Now, if we go to the LSU game, they lost 49-39. They were way up. LSU came back. That's about what I'm expecting here. That was a 90-point game. Against Kentucky, it was a 50. They put up 38 on Kentucky. Vanderbilt, Memphis, 34-27. I'm expecting somewhere in the 30s on Georgia. But Georgia, I'm expecting like the LSU game. Let's see what Georgia's been doing. Missouri is a very good team. I mean, they're 7-1. They're not like terrible. So look at Georgia, 43-20 on Florida, 37-20 on Vandy, 51 on Kentucky is unbelievable. The strange one's the 27-20 to Auburn, and then 49 to UAB, 24-14 to South Carolina is strange. But the last 5 weeks, 49, 27, 51 to Kentucky, 37 to Vandy, 43 to Florida. So you can see the last 5, Auburn was 27-20, but I'm not expecting anything like that here. And Missouri, don't be surprised if they put up 30 points in this game. As you can see, Georgia, well, let me go back into Georgia. I didn't really pay close enough attention to their defense. So they gave up 20 to Florida, 20 to Vandy, 13 to Kentucky, 20 to Auburn, 21 to UAB. So the worst they did was 21 to UAB. So give Missouri 27. Georgia 40, 30. Yeah. Over 50, I think it's there. It's hard to lay 10.5 with Georgia in this. You can't take Missouri in 22, although I think that's a winner because I can't bet against Georgia. You never fuck with the main guys. So give Missouri 27, give Georgia in the 30s. It should be in the 60s. Again, it's really not 56. It's really 50. So, yeah, we're getting there. But I think I like the Oklahoma State over much better. And the best is Kansas. That's your free play. Kansas plus 7.5 is a fucking joke. And playing it with the Air Force under 41, Army won't score. Army might not get past midfield. Air Force, such a strong defense. And they know Army's offense, so that's the kicker. All right. Tulsa, 3.5, 49.5 to Charlotte. Tulsa, terrible team, a W, 36 points on defense. Charlotte, very low scoring, gives up 25. This is a mess. I don't know. Maybe you take Charlotte as a dog, but I can't trust Tulsa. These are the games that are shit that you want Charlotte against Tulane or Charlotte against, Houston or Memphis. You want them against a good team and they just blow them out. When you get them against Tulsa, you don't know what's going to happen. Just like last night, Northern Illinois, Central Michigan. Northern Illinois is favored by 3.5. What do you do with it? Well, Northern Illinois should win, but it's a Tuesday, and Central wins 37-31. What do you do with the game? How do you trust Central Michigan? Okay, they're a home dog. That's about all I can say for them. But what do you do with it? So that's what you got with Charlotte, Tulsa. You can't. UL Monroe and Southern Miss, it's the same thing. Z and Z, I think. UL Monroe is a Z. Southern Miss is a W. Southern Miss gives up 40, and Lou Monroe gives up 33. Southern Miss 2.5, 55.5. What do you do with this game? Do you go over because the defenses suck? I don't know. Do you take UL Monroe and 8.5? I don't know. Auburn and Vanderbilt. Auburn 13.5, 49.5. Auburn's an E team. Gives up 22. They score probably about 23, 24. Vandy's an over team. They give up 34. I mentioned the Georgia game. I think they scored 21. They're probably a live dog here because Auburn basically doesn't score that much. Their 22 defense is okay, but where are we? Vandy gives up 34. If Auburn had a better offense, this is clearly an over game, but I don't trust them. But probably it should get over 44. Vandy will score enough for you and give up enough for you to get to the 44. Hawaii, Nevada, I'm scratching my head. The Nevada beat Well, was it San Diego State 6-0 or something like that? Or I mean, what was that? Nevada 3.5, 50.5. Nevada's a Z team. Give up 32. Hawaii is a W. Gives up 36. And got shut out by San Jose State, who gives up 32 or 33. So I don't know what you get here. Hawaii should be a live dog with their offense. They can't play defense, but Nevada can't play offense either. I think Hawaii at 9.5 might be good. Over might be good, but Nevada's so bad. I don't know. All right, let's take a look at Nevada. They beat New Mexico 34-24. San Diego State 6-0. 27. They lose to Vegas 45-27. Fresno shuts them out 27-9. Texas State 35-24. Who the fuck is their quarterback? Nevada B. Lewis 8 of 16 for 92 yards. How do you bet this team? And somehow they won 34-24. How could this happen when your quarterback goes 8 of 16, 92 yards? Unbelievable. One runner got 76, one got 64. They scored touchdowns. How many interceptions did New Mexico have? See, here's the killer. Dylan Hopkins, New Mexico, 18 of 34, 3 picks. So they either had pick sixes or very short drives. This is what happens to you when you scratch your head about overs, unders, or you look at the stats and the guy throws for 50 yards and they put up 35 points. You're getting pick sixes and turnovers and the stupid fourth down crap. The fourth down crap's the killer because you'll drive to like Oregon, they drive to the 5, they go for it and they don't get anything. That's what kills you. You've taken all the time off the clock and you get nothing for it. These coaches are fucking idiots. You don't do that. You drive to the 5, it's fourth down, it's just before half. Kick your fucking field goal. I don't understand. It's not like you're going to get 4th and 5 on Washington, 1 in 100. So what are you thinking? See, they never think they're not going to make it. I was reading up on it, and it's like the coaches, instead of thinking negatively, like, oh, if you don't get it, this and that, and you think a different way, like, oh yeah, we're going to get it. But you're not going to get it. You're very rarely going to get it. And that's the part, it's a macro look, and it says, 52% of people that go on fourth down make it. Not against Washington, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama. Are you fucked out of your mind? They might do it against, Navy and Army, but they're not doing it against good teams. So you need a micro look at how many guys go fourth down against Alabama or Georgia and make it. 0. It's 0%. You will make it on those teams. Ohio State, Michigan. It's not going to happen. Stop wasting your time. You watch Penn State, Michigan. Penn State will go 4th and 1 at the 25, and they won't make it. And you'll be like, are you on drugs? Like, what are you? And I love the play calling. We're going to run up the middle because I'm sure running into the wall is going to really, of course, we'll gain a yard there. I don't know. It's just not going to happen. That's why I love betting Philly, the Philly Madoffs last week. They're down, and then they do the bullshit rugby play, and then they take the lead, and they win. So we might as well bet on the cheaters, but if this is their best idea of winning, they're out of their fucking minds. If that's what you need to do is play rugby, then go play rugby. Go play rugby. So Nevada's all over the place. They beat New Mexico because they get 3 turnovers. They don't get anything. They score 6 on San Diego State, 27 on Vegas. Vegas kills them, 9 on Fresno. So look at the last 4 games. They score 34, 6, 27, and 9. They give up 24, 0, 45, and 27. How do you bet a team like this? So this is why, like, there's no. It's like we're at roulette. Red, black, red, black. What do we bet? There's no streak. We're waiting for the Reds to start hitting or the Blacks to start hitting. I mean, that's all. Same as back rack. Player, bang, player, bang, player. What? There's no streak. All right. Georgia Southern, Texas State. Georgia Southern, 2.5, 71.5. My God. Where are they? Georgia Southern. Oh, we skipped down. These are the. This is a 5 o'clock game. Jesus Christ. Georgia Southern, 2.5, 71.5. They're an A team. They give up 25 a game. They just put up 44 on a decent Georgia State team. Texas State, I keep telling you, they're the ones that beat Baylor early, and they score. They give up 29. This should be a high-scoring game. Two explosive, strong offense, weak defense. Georgia Southern, to me, is more of an over. They give up 25 a game. And if we look at the last game against Georgia, 44-27, they played a 71 with Georgia State. And this is 72. And Georgia State isn't close to Texas State. Texas State's very explosive. This probably goes over, but I don't know if you can bet it. Maybe you take Texas State in 8.5, hoping it's a close game. But Georgia Southern, they're a very good coach team. Oregon, 23.5, 58.5 to fucking Cal. How can they be giving this many points to Cal? Did we watch the Cal-Oregon State game? Did we watch Cal last week? That's one good fucking coach team with a good – I love Ott, the running back. Good coach, good offense. They're like Kansas. Kansas has a great offense. You can't stop them. Oklahoma can. Texas can't. You cannot stop this team. They have such a good offense, and it's the same thing here with Cal, but it's a secret. Like, it just started happening. If we go into Cal and we look at, they start out, 58-21 North Texas, put up a 14 on Auburn. They lose 14-10. I think I had that game over as a free pick, and everybody looked at me like I was an idiot, and I'm like, I looked at myself like I was an idiot. Then all of a sudden they play Washington 59-32. Arizona State, shows you how good a defense that is, 24-21. Then Oregon State 52-40, they lose. Utah 34-14, but that's Utah. And then USC 50-49. So against these lesser teams, they're lighting it up. And here you got them against Oregon, which is very comparable, let's say, Washington. So they lost to Washington 59-32. Oregon State 52-40 are similar. Utah 34-14 is a 48. This is a 58. Did they lose? Well, they lost to Utah by 20. They lost to Washington by 27, even though they score a lot. So, the over is the play with them. They don't have much defense. Let's see. Cal defensively gives up 33. Oregon gives up 16, but we saw against Washington they gave up 30, and we saw them. We can't really count the Utah game. They don't have Cam Rising. So 58 goes to 52. I would be surprised if Oregon doesn't give you 40 or more. And then Cal should get you in the 20s. So I think it's going to be like Washington, 59-32, or maybe Oregon State, 52-40. Not like USC, because USC has no defense. But I don't know about the Utah game, 34-14. I think Utah's defense is better than Oregon's by a long shot. So I can see, 52. Yeah, it should get over 52. It might be close. Or Cal might just light them up. And, so like the Washington game, 59-32, I would expect. And then hopefully not the Utah game, 34-14. But again, Utah doesn't have a quarterback. So you've got to look at it as an under game. So had Utah had Cam Rising, it would have been a 50-point. It would have been 50-14, like USC 50, Oregon State 50, Washington 50. So against these good quarterbacks, they're giving up 50 points. So Cal's strictly an over team. Maybe you go to 30, but I think you're better off at 52. I think seems really, really low. All right. And Marshall App State. App State's pretty explosive. 4.5, 55.5. Hasn't moved. They're both over teams. Over 55. This is an over game for sure. Marshall gives up 28. App State gives up 31. Marshall was a great defense last year. They beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and now you got them. You got them. They're a 28 defense. App State's very explosive. Gives up 31. So this is over against over at a 55. This is probably the best over on the board, right? Because it's only a 55, not like we're looking at. I don't mind the 58 in Oregon Cal. They both are explosive. It's the USC Washington game that gives me gray here. Liberty's 16.5, 56. Liberty's the A team, very explosive. Louisiana Tech is an over team, gives up 27. They run the ball more. Well, Liberty runs the ball a lot. Over under 1656. 27 defense for L Tech, 21 for Liberty. Liberty should win the game. It should get high scoring, I think. I think over 50, you're probably going to get there. New Mexico State, Middle Tennessee. New Mexico State, Pavia. We love their quarterback. 3.5, 56.5. Where are you, boys? Okay, 3.5, 56. New Mexico State is a very good team. They're a beat. They scored 28. They give up 21. They got a defense. Good coach. Kill used to be Minnesota's coach. And Middle Tennessee's a W team. Very weak offense. Give up 33. I think New Mexico State wins by 14 here. Let's check out Middle Tennessee while we're here. They lost to Liberty 42-35. They beat L Tech 31-23, and they lost to Jacksonville State. I think it's Jacksonville State 45-30. So if we look at the last three games, they've scored 30 a game. Let's look at the Liberty game. What the hell is going on? The Teal 24-37, 332 yards, 4 touchdowns. These boys have a quarterback. So against New Mexico State, then I take that back. And Middle Tennessee is not a W. They're an over if we look at the last 3 weeks. This is the point I'm trying to make. If you look at the whole thing, they don't score. If you look at the last 3 weeks, they've gotten 30 points a game. The quarterback's throwing 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. So it's not the same team. They still give up. Well, let's see if they still give up 33. 42 to Liberty, 23-45. So yeah, this is an over. This is your best over on the board. This is going over because New Mexico State with Pavia, we know, but they're scoring 45 on Jacksonville State's got a good defense. Liberty's the A team, 42-35. I just said Liberty gives up 21 and they lost 42-35. Middle Tennessee scored 30 the last 3. So now let's go to New Mexico State here and see what they've done the last 3. They beat L Tech 27-24, UTEP 28-7, who stinks. Sam Houston, who 27-33, who doesn't have an offense. Florida International, so they've been beating kind of weak teams. They lost to Hawaii 20-17. So the last 4 weeks, they've been scoring about 30 a game, giving up maybe 17, 18. But against, La Tech, who's a good offense, they got 24. UTEP sucks. Sam Houston sucks. And Florida International. So against 3 weak teams, they won. This is an over. This is your best over on the board right here. Absolutely. because Middle Tennessee still has a terrible defense, but they're scoring. They're playing 70-point games. This is the point that you must micro this, because if I look at everything, New Mexico State, take Western Illinois out of it. They lost to Liberty 33-17. New Mexico 27, 17 on Hawaii, 34 Florida Atlantic. So the last 4 weeks they've been in the 30s. The first they were 30 against UMass in the game we lost, and then 17 on Liberty, 27 on New Mexico. So 27-17 on New Mexico. Well, that's the big rivalry game, New Mexico State. So that was a 44. But in the last 4, against Hawaii, 27. Hawaii doesn't score much. Probably the Liberty game, 33-17, but that was a while back, at LTAC 27-24. So it should be a 50. What do we got here? We got 56, so we got a 50. Yeah, it's going to be close. All right. UNLV in New Mexico. This is over against over. This is This is Vegas 10.5, 61.5. This is over against over. Vegas is very explosive, gives up 27. New Mexico, very explosive, gives up 33. This is a 61. This is an over 55. There's a lot of overs. There's a lot of teams like UNLV, New Mexico, really don't try to run it anymore. So this is where the sport's changing. You used to have Oklahoma, Nebraska running all these run plays, and Michigan, Ohio State playing these defensive wars in the 70s and 80s. Now it's let's pass the ball. Let's get running quarterbacks into it. Let's go for it on 4th down. Hopefully they make it. The defenses are confused. They're running 4 or 5 receivers out. So it becomes a lot higher scoring games is what you have. So that's what we need to see. So that's why we're getting a lot more explosive games and a lot more. Who the fuck knows UNLV New Mexico is over besides me, right? And it's a 61. So if you looked at the number, you'd go, oh, why are they saying 61? Well, because this will probably go to 80 and it's only 61, 55. I think that's a joke. West Virginia 9-51 to BYU. BYU's playing like shit. Where is that game? Okay. This was a noon game that changed to 7. West Virginia 9-51. BYU's an E team. They've given up 26. West Virginia is a B team, giving up 27. They're pretty explosive at home. They're much better at home. This game makes no sense. They're in the Big 12, and it's West Virginia and BYU, but that's what you got. 27-26, over under a 51. I don't know that BYU scores enough for you. West Virginia, you thought they had good defenses, but after seeing it, it depends who you're playing. If you're playing Kansas State, Oklahoma, you don't have a good defense. You're not going to show a good defense. If you're playing Iowa State and BYU, your defense is going to look a lot better. So that's the bottom line, basically. So I'm staying far away from this game. I don't even know if I can take West Virginia -3. Probably. That's probably the prudent play there. Utah State, San Diego State. Utah State 2.5, 56.5. Over team Utah State. W team San Diego State. They're falling apart this year. No offense. Their defense isn't. They're usually give up 15, 16 a game. They're giving up 28. Utah State, pretty good over team. Over under 56. I have no idea. I hate playing the road favorites unless it's, like a Notre Dame, Ohio State, something like that, Georgia. I got to leave this game. I can't trust San Diego State in 8.5. Maybe I take Utah State in 3.5. They can score, but they have no defense. But San Diego State can't fuck around with them. Let's leave it alone. Iowa State 1.5, 54.5. Here's your free play. I don't understand this line. Did Kansas not just beat Oklahoma and not just beat them, but just basically crushed them? I mean, they did whatever they want. They put up 38 points, and they could have put up another 14. Iowa State's I like as a defensive team. How the fuck are they going to put up enough points to cover 7.5? Right. So that's the beauty of thinking in teaser terms. Yeah, 1.5. Who the fuck knows? 7.5 in Kansas. Just beat Oklahoma. They're not going to be flat. They're like, hey, yeah, we're rolling. Let's go. So I don't see Kansas. Kansas reminds me of Kansas State last year, where they nobody was noticing them. They kept winning. Then they end up going all the way to the conference championship. Should have been in the playoff. Got totally fucked. What's the point of the playoff championship for the what's the point of the conference championship games? If you win it, it doesn't do you any good. So Kansas State beats TCU. I don't even know why they played, because TCU had already beat them. Kansas State didn't go to the playoff. Well, why? What's the point of the game? If you have it and Kansas State wins, they should go to the playoff. That's the whole point of it. So it's really fucked, but Kansas looks very good. They'll be interesting, the Kansas State game. But right now, they're a very live dog here. That's your free play. Washington, USC. Holy fuck. Washington, 4.5, 75.5. USC, as we know, Caleb Williams, and no defense. I know high school teams that could put up 50 on them. Washington, the A team, I think, although I'm not really sure, their defense is really a 20 and 33. So the best way is, let's really see what Washington's defense is. I know they beat Michigan State, so that really doesn't count. They're a high school team. 42-33 to Stanford. 15-7 to Arizona State. Okay, 36-33 to Oregon. 59-32 to Cal, as we said. So basically, they killed Boise 56-19. That's a 75. They beat Tulsa 43-10. That's a 53. They beat Michigan State 41-7. But against the explosive USC type of teams, 59-32 to Cal. 36-33 to Oregon, and 42-33 to fucking Stanford. So I don't know what happened at the Arizona State 15-7 game. That must have been a lot of turnovers. Go for it on fourth down. I don't know. Does Arizona State really have that good of a defense? They did that day. Now, I credit that they were flat because they beat Oregon the week before, and they're going to get flat. I credit that as why they didn't, but I don't get to Stanford. Now, Stanford turned into Cal. Look out for Stanford. They were down 29-0 to a shit Colorado defense, but they still beat them. And then they 42-33 to Washington. So Washington's got a good defense, I think. So in the last four, Washington's given up 33-7, 33, 24, 32. Cal, Arizona, Oregon, Arizona State, Stanford. 32, 24, 33, 7, 33. Let's add it up. 50s, 66, 98. 98 and 31 is 129 divided by 5. About 25 a game. Hardly an A team at 25. So let's adjust it to what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. So it's 25. 3 of the games went into the 30s. What do we think is going to happen with USC? See, Arizona State doesn't really have an offense. It's the stud offenses, Cal, Oregon, and apparently Stanford. So I'm scared of their defense, but when I look at it and micro look at it and go, fuck, 33 3 times? 3 times you've given up 33. Cal, Stanford, and Oregon. Are you really that strong defensively? Against Michigan State, again, high school teams, Akron could hold them to 7 points. Tulsa, 43-10. They're not that strong. Boise, is, but didn't play very well. So only 7 against Arizona State, but against your big stud teams, they're not. Arizona's not an offensive team. So against the offensive teams, which you have the best offensive team, USC at USC, there's no fucking. This game's going way over 75. Washington will put up 50 on this game. USC will be in the 50s. This game has the makings of 100. This is a 100-point game because we saw what happened last week against Cal, played to a 99. Now, Cal had him crushed and let him back in, but that's what Caleb Williams does. Caleb Williams does score like that. He does do that. So let's keep that in mind. So pick a score here. Washington will be in the 50s. USC's got to be close to the 50s. Let's say they get 37. 50 to 30 is 87. We need 75 minus 6, 69. It's a big number, but more than likely this goes over. This gets into the 90s. I really don't see how it won't, because the only way is because Washington's defense. It's a 20. But when you really look at the last 4 and against the better offenses, Cal, Stanford, and Oregon, they're giving up 30. Are they really a Georgia defense? No, but you think they are. That's why you've got to look at the individual, the micro look of it. As I teach economics the same way, you must look at the micro point of it, and the micro point of it, it's against these styles. Now, I do a lot more in the pros like this, like the Lions. They seem to dominate teams with weak quarterbacks. Right? Riddler at Atlanta, Mayfield at Tampa, Carolina with Steve Young, and Green Bay with Love. They rolled those teams, and Oakland here with Garoppolo. They rolled those teams because they don't have a quarterback, because their weakness is their secondary. They have no secondary. But these teams with these weak quarterbacks, what they're doing in the league is beyond me, and the concepts are way over the general manager and coach's head, apparently. So then you break it down. Then you see the Lions against Mahomes. You see them against Geno Smith, and then you see him against Lamar. Where's the defense? We saw Lamar against Pittsburgh. They lost 17-10. We see Lamar against Arizona. They do okay, 150 yards. And then we see them against the Lions, and they scored every time they had the ball. And so you can see when the Lions play good quarterback. Now the Lions get a break. Kirk Cousins gets hurt. That would have been 2 Minnesota victories that are gone. They're going to lose to Denver with Russell Wilson. They're going to lose to San Diego with Herbert. They'll beat Green Bay and Chicago. Maybe Chicago now has the grocery clerk. That could be problems for him. He doesn't look too bad. He's better. He gives them a better chance than Fields. So, but that's an example of what you look for. You've got to dissect the team into that and who they playing. So if Lions played Miami, they'd get killed. If they play, well, we saw them against Baltimore. If they played Cincinnati, Burrows would eat them alive. They wouldn't have a prayer. They'd lose by 30. And then everybody would say, well, it's just one of those weeks. They didn't take blame for the Baltimore. They made up an excuse. It's just one of those weeks. We just had a bad week. Wow, this is your excuse? Wow, just ridiculous. But that's what happens. So in this instance, we're seeing Washington against strong quarterbacks. They don't have a good defense. They do against maybe a running quarterback or a running attack. However, Cal lit them up, and Cal runs. So against decent teams, we still got to see them against, they got to play Oregon State and Washington State. Good fucking luck there. I don't think they'll win both of those. I think Oregon State will get them, and maybe Washington State, probably the weaker of the two. All right. We know USC, they're going to give up 50 points. They don't have a defense. Just pathetic. You think they'd blitz or do something because there's no way they can't play the regular defense they're playing. We're still at 7:30. It's SMU 10.5, 58.5 against Rice. Rice is very good this year, but so is SMU. SMU is an 8 team. They're only giving up 14 a game. That Oklahoma game, 28-11. I mean, it was astounding. Stone's a new quarterback for SMU. He's a freshman, I think. He's a freshman. He's okay, but he's not where he'll be when he's a senior. Mordecai, I thought was crazy to leave to go to Wisconsin. Was purely pathetic, stupid. I was going to say something like that. Rice not bad. An over team, they give up 28. Over under 58. Hard to bet against SMU. You don't really want to make a living betting against the 8 teams. Good defense, a 14 defense. Rice a 28 defense. I think you go over 58, but you got to be careful because of the SMU Oklahoma game, 28-10. You're like, okay, but we don't know. How many times did they go 4th down and not make it? How many turnovers in the end zone did they do? So we don't really know the score, the makeup of the game. But that's what the risk is. Your risk now over and unders, if you go over these stupid 4th downs that they should be kicking field goals, they go for it and they don't make it. It turns it. It's like a fumble at the 10-yard line. It fucks you over. And you know you're not going to go for 4th down at your own end unless you're San Diego's coach. You're pretty much going to go on their end. So you're at the 25 or Oregon. You're at the 5-yard line. It's 4th and goal, and you're going for it. Do you understand what the fuck you just did? Well, yeah, we should make it. You're not going to make it against Washington. They tried 3 times. They're 0 for 3. At what point do you realize it's a stupid thing to do? I guess, I don't know. These guys just won't get it. Anyway, so it's hard. This should go over. Rice should play them very well. They're a very good team. Kentucky and Old Mississippi State. Page 2. God, it's we're still at 7:30. Good Lord. Kentucky 3.5, 45.5. The Mississippi State, who I don't know what's wrong. Will Rogers has been hurt. They're not scoring. Kentucky, pretty good defense. Got rolled by Tennessee. Got rolled by Missouri. Got rolled by Georgia. Good luck with them. Over under 45. I don't know. I guess if Will Rogers is playing, but they haven't been scoring all year, so it's really hard to go over in this game. Kentucky with a fairly good defense, unless they play Georgia and Missouri. It's a hard call. Maybe you take Kentucky, but I hate the road favorites. I don't think I can trust Mississippi State. It's a good game to watch. Michigan 31.5, 48.5. The Enigma team, the Riddler team, the mystery team. Who are they? They haven't played anybody but high school teams. They give up 6 a game, but they haven't played a quarterback who can throw a 20-yard pass yet. What, Nebraska's or Minnesota's or Rutgers? I think the best offensive team they played was UNLV, and I think UNLV actually scored on them. We have no idea. 31-48 total against Purdue, who's not scoring and giving up 30. I think you just take Michigan and lay the 25 here. I think they'll win in the 40s. I think you can go over 42. You should get there. Purdue with no defense. So Michigan, they've changed their offense, I'm noticing. So a lot of easier throws for this JJ. I hate that guy, JJ. Sounds like turtle. So I think they just run it down their throats. The defense seems to be good. Purdue doesn't seem to have an offense. So let's go into Purdue and see what the fuck's going on here. Against Nebraska, they lose 31-14. Against Ohio State, 41-7. So let's use Ohio State. Iowa, they score 14 on somehow. Okay, they kill Illinois. Against Wisconsin, they lose 38-17. Syracuse 20, VTech, they beat Fresno State 39-35. So let's go to the Nebraska game. What the fuck's going on? Card, who was, I think, the Texas quarterback who sucked, 16 of 32, 100 yards against Nebraska. Heinrich Himmler, 6 of 11, 122, and 2 touchdowns against Purdue. When you start letting these Germans get scoring on you, and really Purdue's got no offense. So let's go back to, let's look at the Ohio State game. McCord, Ohio State, 16 of 28, 276, 3 touchdowns. And, well, Hayden ran 11 for 76. Let's go to Purdue. Card, 13 of 32, 126 yards and a touchdown. Maccabee actually ran for 110 yards on him. That's shocking. So this Card guy basically sucks. Let me write him down, check his stats out. And Ohio State just, they lit him up with McCord, 16 to 28 for 276 and 3, and basically no running. So Purdue, let's look at the last 5 games. The Big Ten gave up 31, 41, 20, 19, and 38. 19 was against Illinois. Wisconsin hits them for 38. Iowa for 20. We got to throw them out. Ohio State 41, Nebraska 31. So if we look at the last 5, 60, 80, 120, 150, they're giving up 30 points a game. And that's what we got them at. And offensively, 14-7, 14, 17, and a 44 against Illinois. So that's skewing them. So if you just take the 4, 28, 35, and 20, 55 divided by 4 is 17? No, 15? No, 13. They're scoring like 13 a game. If we add in Illinois, it will be nice. 15, 30, 42, 62, 40, 102. They're still scoring 20 a game. So they're scoring about 19, but it's skewed. So we got to take Illinois out. So against the good defensive teams, Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio State, Nebraska, and we got a good defensive team here. 28, 35, and 17, 52 is 15 a game. So this is 15, 35, which begs to offer, do we go over 42? Is Purdue going to score in this game? Well, they scored 7 on Ohio. Let's take the Ohio State game. It was a 48. A 45 with Nebraska, a 48 with Ohio State, a 34 with Iowa, and a 55 with Wisconsin. This game is not going to be high scoring. Now, we can go over 42 if we think Michigan just does what Ohio State, 41-7. Wisconsin puts up 38. Nebraska puts up 31. So they'll be, the way Michigan's playing, they'll put up a 50. All right, look at the Michigan State game. 49-0. It was 42. 48. So it's kind of a reverse. We know the game will be low scoring, but we know Michigan's going to score 40 points. So we're getting a 40 here. So if we're getting a 40, if we're getting a 40 with Michigan, what do we do with do we lay 31? Ohio State was only laying 17.5. And this is the biggest number. It's been, what was the Nebraska? They don't show it. Well, I don't know. I'll look at last week's. Shouldn't have been a lot. Nebraska was laying 2.5. We missed that one, huh? So this is the biggest line, though, 31. I think it's too big in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten conference, it's hard to sit there and lay 31 points. Purdue's bad, but they're not that bad, right? And they're probably a little ticked that they're a 31-point dog, believe me. And Michigan's probably going, fuck, this is not Bowling Green. This is Purdue. So I think the only way to really play this is over 42. And it'll be, this game should be in the four. Purdue might score, and then Michigan will be in the 40s at home, do what they do. Although I think Michigan minus 25 wins, I think the over 42 is better. The under 54, I think, is also good. The reason I went over in that other Michigan game was because I thought the other team, Minnesota, the defense is so bad that I thought Michigan would score 50, and they did, and the over-under was like 40. So I said, wait, they're scoring too many points to go under. By themselves, they're ruining the unders. So here, I think you go over with Michigan at 42. I think they do it by themselves. The 31, so let's say they went 42-7 to 35. Yeah, you probably get the Michigan minus 25, or you go over 42 because it's so low. But the way Michigan's offense is, they're going to get you 40 points. All right. Where's Bobby? Okay. Alabama 3.5, 59.5 to the Bobby Bows. Interesting fucking game. Alabama has turned into an A team. They were an under team. Now they're scoring better with Milrose. 3.5, 59. Alabama's a 16 defense, very strong. LSU is an over team. They will score a ton on you, but they give up 27. I see this like the Texas game. Alabama gave up points to Texas. Granted, they got the turnovers. I think Milrose turns the ball over at least twice. I think Daniels turns the ball over at least twice. And you know, in Alabama, they always get the strip sack or the pick six. But Alabama gets you 14 on their defense or special teams. It's 59. You can go over 53. I don't dare take LSU at 9.5 with this 27 defense. I think LSU can win. However, it's revenge. It's a revenge game. And as we know, Nick Saban's 21-2 in revenge games. And if you go to 3.5 to plus 2.5, all they got to do is win. LSU, I give them credit for beating Missouri because that's a real strong team. But now LSU lost to Florida State. We know Alabama. We pay attention to them every week. We know beat A&M, beat Tennessee. LSU beat my Army team 62-0. Did you? I want revenge for that. Auburn 48-18. Old Missouri, I said 49-39. Clemson, no. Is this Clemson? No. Old Miss. God. Old Miss 55-49. Arkansas 34-31. Old Mississippi State 41-14. The Grambling win, that was impressive. And Florida State, they lost 45-24. So they have two losses. They lost to Ole Miss and Florida State. So they're basically out of it. Well, they're not out of the if they beat Alabama, yeah, I guess in conference they'd all have one loss. Oh, no, they would tie Alabama because the Alabama lost to Texas. So this is a must-win game for LSU. Only they could play teams like Army more. Alabama does that, don't they? Who do we compare this to? Missouri's more offensive. Mississippi State. Florida's the only game I can compare to is Florida State with that type of defense. They lost 45-24 because Daniels throws 3 interceptions. I was listening to some idiot today on the radio. These guys listen to my broadcast because I know they do because they use a lot of the They use the Michigan analysis I use, which is basically to say that Michigan's not a good team. They haven't beat anybody. The best team they beat was Rutgers. I heard that on the broadcast yesterday. Michigan hasn't beaten anybody. The best team they beat was Rutgers. I go, fuck these guys. Just keep. But they don't want to. They don't want to say, well, we got it from the professor. Okay, so fuck you guys. Basically, I mean, that's all you can really do. They did beat Alabama last year with Steve Young at quarterback. Now they got Milrose, who's not nearly as good as Steve Young. So they lost to Ole Miss. So it was a very – Arkansas was a 45. Mississippi State was a 55. Ole Miss was a 104. Missouri was an 80. Auburn was a 66, and Army was a 62, where they got all the 60s. They are very explosive over team. Let's see. Let's just check Alabama out here. Alabama, a 54 with Tennessee, 45 with Arkansas, a 46 with A&M, a 57 with Old Mississippi State, a 30 with Ole Miss, and Texas was a 58. Oh, yeah, and then Middle Tennessee State. So let's look at the last 5 games, 34, 24, 26, 40, 24. So they've been scoring more, even 24 against Texas. So $150 to so they're scoring about 30 a game. Ella fucking Bama. Their defense, 20, 21, 20, 17, and a 10. So they're 20, 40, 60, 80, 90 divided by 5. 20 would be 100. So about 19. So they're about a 30-19. Did they play an explosive team? Old Miss, 24-10. Texas, I don't think this is explosive. They gave up 34 on the turnovers. Mississippi State sucks. A&M, backup quarterback. Arkansas, not that good. Give them Tennessee, 34-20. So let's use that. Tennessee got to had first and goal 3 times, kicked 2 field goals. They get up 13-0, should have been 21-0. We did have Alabama in the revenge game. This was a lock 2 weeks ago. We're not locking this one unless we lock it over. 59-53. This was a 54. I think you get close to that. I think LSU is going to score on them. They scored on them last year. And let's look at last season, Alabama, LSU, 32-31 last year. They played a 63. We're going over, boys. And G. This is definitely an over game. 59, but we go down to 53. I don't think we'll have any problem getting to 53. Miami and NC State. Miami, I can't even seriously look at this with the bad coaching staff. 4.5, 44.5. How they beat Clemson, I have no idea. Miami's a 20 defense. NC State's a 23. Van Dyke, top 5 quarterback, but he's got a terrible offensive coordinator who doesn't know to take a knee. I mean, I'm not ever going to stop saying that because it's too stupid to ignore. Take a knee, you win. You just lost the game. And I think that's what their only loss. And they got Florida State coming up, and you fucking around not taking a knee. Unbelievable. And then you beat Clemson. I don't even know how the team could play for these clowns. 4.5, 44.5. NC State's an under team, gives up 23. I think Miami wins the game. They should win the game. if you let Van Dyke be Van Dyke but their offense coordinator is so bad. Stanford, Washington State, 13.5, 60. Both teams over. I love the over here. Stanford, as we see, is scoring now. They changed quarterbacks. They're still giving up 38. Washington State, very high scoring team. You got a 38 defense, 31 defense with both good offenses. Go over. Abso-fucking-lutely. And my biggest problem is, how do I differentiate these games to just pick 8 or 10? How do what do I do here? It's so difficult. Western Kentucky, 10.5, 54.5. Western Kentucky's an over team. UTEP's a Z team. Western Kentucky should kill them. They give up 30, I think 30. And UTEP gives up 27, but doesn't know how to score. Western Kentucky by 4. Oregon State, Colorado. Jesus Christ. Oregon State's an A team, but we're going to look at them on a micro look. 60. They give up 21. 13.5, 62. Colorado, as we know, over team. They give up 35. So let's look at Oregon State. What is their defense? Is their defense really a 21? Can we take Colorado and feel we're gonna score enough to get over 56? Oregon State loses to Arizona 27-24. UCLA gets 24 on them without a good quarterback. Cal lights them for 40. Forget the Utah game, no quarterback. Washington State lights them for 38. So let's take those 4 games. Let's ignore Utah. 35, 52, 36, 24. So they're averaging 40 points a game, easy. They give up 38, 40, 24. So let's say 50, 90, and 40 is 130 divided by 4. 130 divided by 4 is 30. 120 is like 35. So they're nowhere near a 21. Let's call it a 30 defense. Yeah, here's another over 62, 56. We got Prime and his son. He's going to be coaching him in the pros. He'll just go wherever he gets drafted. Okay, if you want my son, I got to be the coach, so he can play. It's like Little League. So Oregon State scoring a 10. Oregon State, let's look at them against Cal, 52-40. Washington State, 35. So they play a 73 with Washington State. They play a 92 with Cal. Forget the Arizona and UCLA. These are under teams, and it was a 60 with UCLA and a 51 with Arizona, and this is 62-56. Arizona's got a very strong defense, unlike Colorado. Here's another, way over. This 56 halftime. So we know Colorado has trouble with Oregon, had trouble with Utah or UCLA. They haven't played Utah yet. They're going to have trouble with them. They're going to have trouble with good defensive teams. But Oregon State, as we see, is really a 30 defense, especially in conference, especially against these type of teams. They don't shut them down. This is where it gets so skewed in college. You've got you start with Bowling Green, and then you play Northwestern High School, and then you maybe play Colorado State, and then you start getting into your conference. We got to play Utah and USC and Oklahoma and Oregon and Washington. It's a whole different animal. It's like horse racing. You play against the weaker horses, right? And you think you're good, then you move up in class. Well, that's what Oregon State, that's what most of these teams do. The Sun Belt and the MAC teams go down in class. They go from the Ohio States and Michigans to Bowling Green and Temple. But the Oregon States go up in class. They don't play the Bowling Greens and Northwestern High School. They're now playing, Cal and Stanford and Colorado, teams that can score. And you can see that's why you got to almost have two sets of books, the total book and the book against these style of teams. This game will go way over 56. Boise, Fresno State. Fresno State 3.5, 54. Boise's an over team, gives up 28. Fresno's an A team, gives up 20. I'm surprised they're mowing the lawn. It's like 35 degrees outside. I think Fresno State. Let's look at Boise. I think Fresno State laying 3.5 is a joke because I got Mikey Keene back last week. Boise beats Wyoming 32-7, loses to Colorado State 31-30, beats San Jose State 35. These are beautiful over teams. Memphis 35-32, San Diego State 34-31. They haven't played defense except for the Wyoming game. Let's see what happened in Wyoming. What the fuck happened? Peasley, Wyoming's quarterback, 10 of 20, 85 yards, 1 touch, 1 interception. And absolutely, the leading rusher was 18 yards. Boise, let's check them out. T, Green, and Madsen. So they switch quarterbacks. This is always the better's nightmare. They start with Green, 3 of 6, 1 touchdown, 69 yards, and then come in with this Madsen guy, 12 of 15, 147 yards. Did Green get hurt? Possibly. We'll check when I check injuries. So Green's hurt. Madsen's 12 of 15 against Wyoming is impressive. They ran Holani 75 yards. Green ran for 32, probably got hurt. Dubar ran for 45, and Gentry ran for 53. So they got pretty good balance. We look at Fresno State. I think Mikey Keene came back, which is critical. We need our quarterback against Vegas, 31-24. Interesting game. Mikey Keene, 27 of 41, 256 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Pretty good game for Mikey Keene. Absolutely no running. Nothing. So we got Mikey Keene back. So defensively, Fresno's given up 24, 32, 24, 9 to Nevada, 10 to Kent State. They don't count. Arizona State, they shut them out. Eastern Washington and Purdue. So we only have 4 games. Vegas, Nevada, Utah State, and Wyoming. So they give up 24 and 32 to those and 24 to Wyoming. Nevada has no offense. So we look at the last 3. They're giving up 27. They got to give up 20. So they're giving up a little bit more. It's funny. They gave up 31 to Eastern Washington. They shut out Arizona State. Go figure that out. But Arizona State had quarterback issues early on. And our last but not least, UCLA 1.5, 53.5 to Arizona. There's only one way to play this game, which is under. Both teams are very strong defense. Arizona held SC 28 all. They held Washington, I think, 24-17. UCLA, we saw what they did. Very strong defense. The prime time. Both teams kind of – Arizona's quarterback's okay, the backup. UCLA's quarterback, the freshman, I think, got hurt. The backup sucked. The kid fumbled twice at the 5-yard line last week to fuck my over. UCLA's guy. And so I think under 60 in this game. Now, where I'm all over the overs on most of these, this is UCLA's a 15 and Arizona's a 21. This game will not hit 40. This is a very low-scoring game, 20-17 or something like that. So that's it. That's your unders. I only got about 15 plays, at least, if not more. It could be more. I got Penn State and Tulane saying, hey, how about us? Penn State laying 5 to Maryland and Tulane against East Car. Cal, Oregon, okay, and New Mexico, yeah. So then what baffles me is I'll put them in teasers and then I lose one, and you're shaking your head. You go, why didn't I put them with this? And that's the hardest part about the teasers, mixing them together. Now we've already understand Kansas is the free pick in the Air Force Army under 41. That's your free teaser, which we already understand, and that's by far, I still can't get over Kansas in 7.5. So again, we're not Bernie Madoff. We cannot play these after the game. So we based on the projected outcome, the reasonable outcome we think from analyzing what we just did. Kansas playing great ball, beat Oklahoma. Are they going to be flat? They go to Iowa State. I don't think a team like Kansas gets flat after beating Oklahoma. They could, but I don't think Iowa State, if they played maybe Kansas State, they might have a problem this week. But against Iowa State, I don't see how Iowa State's just going to shut them down. And I know Iowa State's very good defensively. But that's what you got. So you just run with it, and you make your best picks, and off you go. We'll talk pros. What's today? Wednesday. We'll talk pros tomorrow as we got a game. We're waiting to see who the quarterbacks are. This is pretty good. I know pretty much by looking at the box score, I know Mikey Keene's playing for Fresno State. So you got a pretty good idea. I know Wisconsin's quarterback's out. Mordecai didn't play last. I know that's the case. That's why I went into the box score of the last game to see who quarterback. Now I know who the quarterback is, then I'll go to the injuries and see, is he on the injured list? This is as close as I could come to picking games. I have no other I used to do more trends, but with all the transferring and the new coaches and the new quarterbacks, it's almost impossible to look at a trend. You just have to know the type of team more. USC, Colorado are explosive offenses with no defenses. So you just see how USC played the team, and that's how Colorado's going to play the team, right? So against Oregon, Colorado doesn't show up. I doubt USC will if they play them, but I don't know if they play them. We looked at the Washington USC. We looked at them against other high-scoring teams, Cal and Stanford, who are actually high-scoring teams, and we saw they give up a ton of points. So they're going to give up a ton of points to SC. But that's what we find out. We see Cal and Stanford are not these Z teams anymore. They can fucking score. Cal's got a running back out that this guy should be the first running back drafted. He makes Bijan Robinson look like a high school player. And then you have hot teams, Oak State, Missouri, Kansas State. They're all red hot. So you go with them. And that's like red hits roulette 5-6 times in a row. First 6 games, now black starts hitting. So you got to change your bet to black now from red. And that's what you got to do here. You have to see that. The NFL is a fucking nightmare. Look at tomorrow's game. What do we have? Levi against Trubisky, against Pickett. Do we have Hull against Heineke in Minnesota, Atlanta? Do we have Dobbs against Walker? Both are a joke again in that one, or is it Dobbs and Watson? Do we have Benson or Stafford for LA against Love? Either one's going to kill them. How is Green Bay favored? So there we can really take advantage. That'll probably be our free game once we understand who the quarterback is. There's no way Green Bay should be favored over anybody. Now, if I have Stenson Benson, he didn't win national championships at Georgia by being bad, and he looked good in the preseason. So I have no problem playing Bennett. He's 5 times better than Love. That I know for sure. So I have no problem playing. Aaron Jones is playing. The Rams got embarrassed last week. Then you got like, how do you play Washington, New England? Howell against Jones. I've got better quarterbacks I've talked about in college than I do in the pros. What's wrong with that? Why do I have better quarterbacks in college than in the pros? Right? I got Levis, I got Pickett and Trubisky, I got Tagliavua, I got Hall and Heineke, Dobbs and PJ Walker and Love and Howell and Mac Jones. The grocery clerk at Chicago, and I don't mind Minshew. Young's terrible. DeVito for the Giants, or Tyrod Taylor, Garoppolo. I mean, where are you finding these guys, and why are they starting? And you wonder why the league sucks. Well, why is scoring down? Because you don't have a quarterback in the league besides Burrow and Mahomes. What, Herbert, uh, Josh Allen, and maybe Jalen Hurts, who looks like shit anyway. Um, that's it. Your league sucks. Geno Smith, who's not very good, who's looking good. Lamar sucks, and Mahomes. Mahomes we love, and Tagliabua. I don't. He always chokes, right? Oh, we're playing Buffalo, 48-20. Hey, we're playing KC. I guarantee you, KC wins the game. KC, you get 4 points in KC all day. I don't even know the game goes over. This would have been an automatic over for me recent years. KC's not an over team. As they showed you against Denver twice and San Diego, they don't score a lot of points. They have the tough defense, but they haven't replaced their wide receivers. So he throws it to Kelsey. He runs a little bit. He does these little things. They kick a lot of field goals. This is not an over team anymore. This is they give up 16 a game. This is not an they lost to fucking Denver and they scored what, 6 points, 9 points. So I don't think Miami will do much against this defense, right? And we will see. But I'm not touching the over. I might play the over only because I thought Miami, but look at Miami against Buffalo. They put up 20. I mean, they don't, but they give up a lot. So this could be an over because KC will score. KC will score 20 and Miami will score 17s, 38. Yeah, I don't know if they'll get to 44. Maybe. But the best thing you can do with these terrible quarterbacks is play unders, which is we've been playing a lot of them. The only over team really we have is Miami and Indy. They're really only the two over teams. Even Minnesota changed. Buffalo, I mean, they're just pathetic. They got a good defense. Cincinnati's under. The Jets, I love the Jets. The Jets, I've won every week with the Jets. And I'll play them again this week, getting 9. I mean, it's a joke. And yet they keep underrating the Jets. I don't know why. Everybody's picking on Zach Wilson. He doesn't look that. He doesn't look any worse than Love or Howell or the grocery store guy or DeVito or Garoppolo. I mean, Jesus, he's better than all those guys. If Aaron Rodgers was there, it'd be them in Denver for the championship. That was my prediction the whole way. You watch Denver; they're playing very well, and they're getting used to Sean Payton. He's bringing in his plays. He's keeping them calm. He's the best coach, him, Coach Pete, in the league. Don't bet against the coach, right? He'll win you. He knows plays to run that will get you scores, and that's the difference. And he'll know how to play San Diego. What are you kidding me? He'll beat. See, he had Drew Brees. He knows how to defend that shit. That's what people don't understand. They're not understanding the coach is such a good coach. Dallas Philly, on the other hand, you're looking at Dallas realizing they have such a bad coach, and Dak Prescott is just the biggest choke there is. So in this game, there's no way Dallas wins this game. Philly's going to win it because Dak will throw 3 interceptions. So they keep riding Dak like he's good, but I don't really. He'll have a good game against a weak team, but overall, he won't do. In a big game like Philadelphia, they have to have it. He doesn't show up. He'll get hurt or throw 2 or 3 interceptions. Anyway, I'll get into pros tomorrow. So there's a whole shitload of games. Again, tonight, I really don't. Maybe you take Bowling Green because Ball State's a Z team and you're laying 1. I don't know what you do. Kent and Akron, Z and Z. I don't know what you do with that. You can't. How do you take the dog? How do you take the favorite? They both give up 30 odd points a game. You're not getting defensive help, but you don't have an offense to take advantage of the weak defenses. So I don't know who wins. This is. I mean, I can figure out a lot. This is like a puzzle to me. I figure it out, but I can't figure out Z against Z. I have nothing to go with. I can maybe say Akron's at home. Maybe I take 3 there, but shit, I got 100 other games I can play. Why would I want to play that one? So that's what I look at the whole board, right? And then I just lay them out, and then I try to put the pieces together. Well, this teaser A and this teaser B. I like this one a lot, so therefore I'm going to play it higher, but I need a counter team that's just as strong to play it. So like last week, I had UCF over with Oak State over. Both of them were locks, so I bet it for a ton, and I got the winner. That's how you have to play teasers. The other games that aren't as strong, they might win, but they're not the same thing. So what you're trying to do is now, see, right now you see this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and what you got to see it as, here's a list of 20 teams that we like. So I've got it down to probably 20 teams. And I can't forget this page 2 with Michigan and Alabama and Stanford and Colorado and Arizona. I mean, I got 5 more right there. And I got to try to weed them out to figure out which ones do I want to bet on. And that's the problem. I'll have a good day. I'll go 15-3. I got 3 losers and teasers that I gotta, hope they're not the real strong plays, that they're the weaker plays that I haven't put in 3 teasers or whatever. Anyway, that is football. And again, it's this long. We've got so many teams, so many games, and then we got to go dig into the micro part of it, which is very important. So if you're gonna pick, you have to do that. But that's why we're very successful. What else? So gold and silver, again, we're waiting. Okay, so let me explain this again because it's really frustrating. There's a paper price and a gold price. The derivatives are run by JP Morgan on purpose to keep the price down because they don't want the competition of this, right? They don't want you to compete with the paper. If gold comes out versus paper, everybody will want gold. So to keep the competition away, they manipulate the price with paper. So it's called paper gold. It's derivatives keeping the price down. It's not supply and demand. It's not market supply and demand. When somebody tells me it is, I do not like to hear that. One girl said, "Why did you block me on WhatsApp?" Because you're a fucking idiot. You don't know the difference. Therefore, I don't want to get frustrated. And I know I'm right, so there's nothing more to discuss. If you don't get that basic logic, it's impossible to have a conversation with you. So if you don't understand what derivatives are and don't understand, this is the paper price, right? This is 1977. This is not real. This is a fixed price that is on COMEX, which is derivative market. This is not the physical price of gold. My guy asked me about gold, and he says, "Oh, do you have any liberties, U.S. gold ounces?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, can we buy them from you for $2,000?" I said, "Add a 0 to it, and I'll sell it for $20." I'm not selling it at 2. It's worth far more because it's been price fixed down by the derivatives. So really, this price is a bullshit price. It's not supply and demand. So in a free market, which is not what gold is right now, I have this. Do you want to buy it? And you say yes. And then we negotiate a price. We say $75, you can have it because it's special. It's 12 years old in 1997, so it's about 40 years old now. There can't be too many of these bottles. You can't find them at the grocery store. So I have this. I'll give it to you for 75. You say, yes, that's a great price. That's free market, free trade. I have something and you want to buy it. We figure out a price. Boom. Paper gold is not done that way. It is not free market. It is not anything to do with supply demand. It is strictly price fixed by JP Morgan and who run the government. So the banks run the government. The banks don't want competition. Why don't they want competition? Because guess who prints this? JP Morgan runs the printing press. Oh, we need an extra million. We'll just print it off. So what happens is the guys who run this do not want to lose the monopoly because they're the only ones who can print the dollar. Well, they don't want to give that up because the dollar used to have value, but they don't realize this is worthless now. So if I want to keep this around, I've got to get rid of the competitors. So let's say you're McDonald's. If you get rid of Wendy's and you get rid of Burger King, now you can raise your price because we're the only ones with burgers. But in America, we have competition. So there is Wendy's and Burger King, and that keeps the price and the quality, keeps the price down and quality up at McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. They all cancel each other out, and they're fighting for our business, for me to come and buy. And that's some of Wendy's has baked potato instead of fries, and they have chili. McDonald's has crap that'll kill you in a week, and then Burger King's got some burgers. All right. So that's what you have, free market. But in gold, you don't have it. Now, in other words, it's McDonald's trying to not have competition, but you can't. You can't get rid of Wendy's and you can't get rid of Burger King. But in the dollar, it is not supply and demand. Nowhere close to it. It's free. It's price fixed. So what does that mean? It means JP Morgan sets the price not based on supply demand. So that'd be like JP Morgan saying this is worth $5. No, it isn't. I'm not selling it for $5. The buyer likes it, but the seller doesn't. So COMEX is telling you that we're going to run derivatives to lower this price to $5. Well, wait a minute. The price in the market's 75, but the derivatives say 5. Well, let's take it to gold. The gold price is nowhere near 1975, but they keep the price down to get rid of the competition. But if you're buying physical gold, it's not worth 1975. It's worth 20, 30,000 easily, if not more. And this is what's fundamentally happening in the gold market. Paper gold, which is derivatives. So I'm selling 1,000 ounce, I'm selling 1,000 tons of gold, which you don't have, and you're not selling because you're selling it to your buddy, and nobody's buying it. Nobody gets the physical gold, right? It's not like I'm selling this to you, and here you go, and then you got it. No. I'm pretending I'm going to sell you this in paper. So here's your whiskey. Well, wait, I want the whiskey. Well, it's paper. And then you buy it, and you're buying the paper, and you go wink, wink. Okay, right. We're not really trading the whiskey. We're trading paper, and paper gold is what you're trading, and it's the biggest scam in the world. They know it's price fixed. They know it's scam, but when the mafia runs things, they're not going to prosecute themselves. They control the judges. They control everything. Well, when that happens, they're not going to prosecute themselves. So this is a scam. It's not even a Ponzi scheme. It's worse. It's just outright thievery. But guess who realizes that? Our friend Putin and our friend Z, who are our friends in gold. Putin has 32,000 tons at 32,000 ounces a ton. She's got 65,000 tons. They got over 100,000 tons of the 244,000. The other central banks are buying 10, 100 tons here, 1,000 tons there, probably have another 50,000 tons. There's not a lot left. COMEX blows up and they don't have the gold to sell it. They need some physical to do this. They can't just print paper. And that's what they're doing. And this is what's killing the economy. It's putting people out of work. It's destroying the dollar. So you keep printing the dollar. What they don't understand is the more you print it, this becomes worthless. This is worth nothing. So in their intent to keep gold down, they keep printing this. This is worth nothing. The gold's worth 20 times more than you think it is. So don't fuck with me and tell me it's supply and demand, because it's not got anything to do with supply and demand yet. That's where we're headed. Thanks to Mr. Putin and Mr. Xi, Putin is putting together a gold-backed ruble because nobody wants it. It's $100 to $1. So when I give Daria, when I give her $100 for food, she gets 100 times 100 rubles, which still doesn't buy as much as you would think, but that's what she gets. So in her world, she's getting that's what the rubles are. But what he's doing is seeing that the ruble has no value. The only way out of this is to have gold-backed rubles, because then you can't print the gold. The reason the gold has a value is they can't print it, so they can't inflate it. Again, the definition of inflation, the real definition of inflation, the only definition of inflation is the overprinting of the dollar. You've inflated the supply of dollars, which have made them worth less. So if I had one bottle of this, I could get, let's say, $200. But if I have 1,000 bottles of this, I'm going to get $50, because then there's more buyers and then it lowers the price. But if I have one, there's only one buyer that can buy it. There could be more interest, more demand in it. So in gold, they can't print it because it's gold. You can't print gold. You can print paper. So the criminals want to print the dollar because of they want to steal from us, which is what they're doing. And then they lower the value of the dollar. So that's the problem. So don't tell me the economy is based on dollars is in good shape. Don't tell me gold is related to dollars. It's not. Gold has nothing to do with dollars. This has nothing to do with dollars. This is $75. The dollar goes down. This should be worth 80. That's how but this has nothing to do with, if you left dollars alone, this is free market for whatever you want for the Canadian club. It's just what it is. So when I hear people telling me that gold supply and demand, that the paper market is the physical market, that's the end of the conversation, okay? So when you people try to have a conversation with me on WhatsApp and you start bringing this shit in, you're not listening to the class, which I've explained 100 times. We're not going to have a conversation. I will not go there, because I am 100% certain of what is gold and what is paper gold, what's physical and paper, what the dollar, what inflation is. It's not price inflation. There's no wage inflation. The only inflation there is the dollar. You've printed too much of it. This is worthless. That's what inflation is, period. If prices go up, it's the effect of the inflation, but there's no such thing as price inflation or wage inflation. I don't know. These people just make up shit, or deflation. They make it up. The Keynesians or communists make up this shit. Deflation. Oh, the prices are dropping. That's the market. That's got nothing to do. There's no such thing as deflation. So if your house goes down in value, it's because the market has dropped it. It's got nothing to do. The only thing it has to do with inflation is it raises interest rates. That's why your interest rates go up, because of the inflation, not the banks. Again, a very bad misnomer. So the people out there telling you this shit are full of crap, and I advise you not to listen to them as best I can. But this is what's really happening if you really want to know what's happening. But don't give me the bullshit that the dollar and gold are pegged together. They're not, and there's no paper gold. It's all gold, and that's supply and demand. If you tell me that, the conversation ends. So I just wanted to put that out. I'm very 100% sure what I say. I have a master's in it. That's why I say it. So basically, that's the bottom line, Mr. Stone Cold. So again, we're waiting for Putin and Xi to come out with a gold-backed currency for BRICS and the ruble. So Putin's going to come out with a gold-backed ruble, but he needs gold to be far higher in price. He's going to come out with his own gold price. COMEX will blow up because they won't compete, because they'll buy the gold from COMEX at 2,000 and then Putin's got it at 20,000 and they'll go sell it there. Well, how long is that going to last? 10 minutes? So eventually COMEX runs out of gold because everybody does that. And then as they come out with the gold-backed BRICS, so the BRICS currency will be gold-backed, they'll start realizing, oh shit, there is no more, there's no more gold because it's limited to 250,000 tons. It's not, and with Russia, China having 100,000 and the other central banks probably close to 60, 70,000, and they're buying it hand over fist at these low prices because COMEX is keeping the price low against the dollar. They're blind to the fact they're screwing the dollar to zero, and they're blind to the fact that they're letting all the other countries buy the gold this cheap. Because when Russia wants to buy COMEX, you're not going to fuck with them. They might fuck with us. We go on COMEX. Yeah, I want to buy a ton. Well, who has money for a ton? I want to buy 10 ounces at 2,000, so here's 20,000. And then they sorry, we're not going to deliver it. Well, they're not going to do that to Putin. So as the gold gets off of COMEX, because they only have so much, and as they have these low prices, everybody's buying it. There's very little gold left. And so my prescription to you, if you want to survive, is you get out of the dollar, which has no value because our fellow mafia guys are printing it to zero, so they're stealing. But the problem is they don't understand this is worthless. So Warren Buffett, who has $2 billion, thinks, I got $2 billion, doesn't realize there's no value. So it is not a supply demand free market price for gold. It is a derivative physical paper price for gold. We are waiting for the free market physical price for gold. There's two different animals here, which they don't tell you but me. So that's what you have to understand. We're waiting. We buy physical. They can't inflate it. They can't make it go to zero. And we're just waiting for Russia to come out and make it 20, 30,000. So we're buying $30,000 ounces of gold for 2,000. Thank you very much. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. That's what will happen soon. The U.S. is fighting it. That's why it's still keeping the price low. They're still fighting it. How do we keep the price down to keep the dollars running? And the rest of the world's going, fuck you. We don't want your U.S. dollars. You're either bullying us, you're sanctioning us, or it's worthless. So if the countries know it's worthless, don't want it, and the other countries, and the problem right now, there is no, because the dollar is the bully and the reserve currency, it's not like you can get out, maybe you get out of it to euro, but euro is no better. They're both crashing. So what's going to happen is if I get out of the U.S., where do I go? Swiss, maybe go to Swiss franc, but it's no better. They're printing it to zero. The British, well, I'll go to the British pound. No, they're printing it to zero. All of these currencies that are paper are being printed to zero. So there is no out. And if you don't think that's all going to collapse, you're out of your fucking mind. They are all collapsing because they are all Keynesian by George Soros printing the money to zero. Your only out is the gold universe. So I come up with this. So you're in a paper universe now, and that's what's going to collapse. But then there's a gold universe over here where all the people that have gold and silver are going to be fine. They'll just reprice everything. You got a $500,000 house in dollars, it's now worth zero. Oh, fuck, my house is worthless because the dollar is worthless. But how much is it worth in gold? And that's where the transformation takes place. You get out of the dollar universe, and here comes the gold universe. That's what's going to happen. Gold will be the reserve currency, and silver, gold's price has to go through the moon, 40, 50, 60,000 an ounce till there's no more paper. Then it becomes gold has its own value. Oh, you can buy this house that used to be $500,000 that's now worth zero. I can buy with 1 ounce of gold. So 1 ounce of gold is now worth what a $500,000 house is worth. You can't even calculate what gold's going to be when it gets out of the dollar. When the dollar collapses and all the assets, this goes to zero. Or maybe 2 ounces of silver will buy it. Oh, okay. So it all gets converted from this to gold and silver. That's what will happen. So these people that come out with this, oh, I'm going to make paper gold into 1/64th ounce of gold. That'll be my dollar. So this will be worth like 1/64 ounce of gold. This isn't gold. This is paper. And when gold goes to 50,000, you're going to be in the same situation you were before. So they're thinking that gold price is 2,000. So this will be worth, 1/64. So therefore you can go to the grocery store and buy milk and eggs. No, because that's not what the gold price is it's not going to stay at 2,000. It's not established at 2,000. That's the paper derivative price. There is no physical price. It's at least 20 to 30,000. And so you're sitting there with this paper gold. This guy's a fucking idiot. As soon as I saw him, I started laughing. But I'm one of the few that understand that what he's doing doesn't make sense because the price of gold is going to go way up. And it's 1/64 of, let's say it's $64,000 for an ounce of gold now is worth $1,000. You're still not buying milk and eggs with it. So his intention is to come out with this paper currency to go buy milk and eggs. Or these people with the barter, we'll buy dimes, quarters, and half dollars made out of silver. Well, yeah, but you don't know what the price is. It's not going to be $25. So they're trying to figure out how are we going to buy milk and eggs when the dollar collapses. And what they don't understand is it's all going to be priced in gold and silver. That's what they don't understand. There won't be barter. I mean, you're bartering now. I can go to the barbecue place, get ribs, and pay him with an ounce of silver. He will take it. So in a sense, he's smart enough to understand silver is good. If you go to Kroger's with it, they don't know what it is. They don't know the value, and they don't know the future value. And I know it. That's why when I go there, the guy wants an ounce of gold from me for 2,000. I laugh at him. I go, this I need 20,000 for. I buy the silver. I'm buying the silver. I laugh because I go, I'm buying a $2,000 ounce of silver for $25. Thank you very much. That's why I have 600 ounces of it because I can't buy enough. But the only things that stop me is I go buy more gold, and I want a good balance. And I buy dimes, quarters, halves, and dollars of gold. And you never know what you need. And so I buy all of them. I have more ounces, but I also buy quarters, dimes, and pennies, or 1/10 of an ounce, quarter ounce, and half an ounce. So that's what you have to understand. There's no barter. You're just going to change the system from paper. Why is there a paper system in the first place? Why does this buy us milk and eggs? Because you need a medium of exchange. In other words, you could get paid in bubble gum from your boss. I'm going to pay you 1,000 ounces of bubble gum a week. But what are you going to do with the bubble gum? Can you pay rent with it? Can you pay food for it? No. So you need an instrument that you will take as payment that you can then turn around and use to buy things, to pay rent, to pay food, to pay electricity. So you need something. That's what a medium of exchange is. And that's why you have the dollar in the first place, but it must be backed by gold, or the crooks who run the government will print, and print, thinking it's a printing machine, especially when they're Keynesians, which are communists, who think they can just keep printing, and they don't understand. They're so stupid they don't understand that you've made the value of it worthless. It only works if you don't print it to death. That's why you back it by gold, to prevent the value going to zero. And if you're going to keep printing it, then just use gold and silver as the medium of exchange. Oh, there's too many people. Well, that's why you raise the price of it. But ideally in Rome, how do you think they bought milk and eggs? They had a silver dime or a silver quarter. That's how they bought it. That it was priced at, we're going to price this at a silver quarter. That's all it was. And that's what will happen now. So there's no barter. These people with the barter are fucking idiots. They don't understand anything. These are salesmen that talk, but they don't know what they're saying. And you got to be careful about listening to them, because you're going to get bad advice. Now, when we listen to these retirement planners and they're trying to 60% stock, 40% bonds, what's stock valued in? Dollars. What's the stock price going to be? Zero. What are the balance sheets going to be? Zero, because your cash is worth zero. Your receivables turn to zero and your payables turn to zero. The whole company Microsoft goes to zero. Their stock price is priced in dollars, goes to zero, because anything in dollars has no more value because it doesn't exist anymore. Every currency that's done this, where they haven't backed it by gold, has gone to zero in the history of the world. A couple thousand of them. This one ain't going to be any different. So that's your biggest problem. So in retirement planning, I listen on these idiots and they go, well, 60-40, you got to be in stocks and bonds. And you want to be in stocks to give you a dividend. So this is how you'll live when you hit 70 years old. You'll get 5% dividend in Coca-Cola. And that's how you're going to use that to pay rent. And I almost drive off the road. I'm like, or you could buy gold and you don't need dividends. You just wait for the gold price to go up because it's paper gold. You wait for the physical price to come because of what Russia, China, and BRICS are doing. And when the physical price goes through the roof, you don't ever have to worry about that, and your stocks are going to be worthless. But why would the retirement planner guy talk about gold? Because he gets commissions on stocks and bonds, and they don't care if they fuck you. That's why I bring in all these movies. Tack on Wall Street, put them in real estate trusts. Oh, it went to zero because people were defaulting. Sorry, you just lost your 60 grand. The Big Short. Oh, it's the same thing with the housing crisis. All these Madoffs was a scam. Again, actually, I think the most honest is Madoff. It might have been a Ponzi scheme, but if you gave him 100 grand, at least you got 15, 16% every year. If Madoff would have known JP Morgan, he'd have just had him print him money. Nobody would ever have found out. That's his biggest mistake Madoff made, was not going to the Federal Reserve and saying, look, I'll give you a number every week. This is how much money you need to print. That's all he had to do. And it never would have been discovered. But everybody in it would have been rich. They all would have gotten 15%, and it would have kept going and going and going. And that actually is much better than the stock market, which is totally crooked. The real estate trusts, which were totally crooked. So all these Wall Street scams are far more deadly than what Madoff was doing if he would have just kept printing money. And I don't know why he didn't. He had that Henry Levere guy from France who had all the royalty in Europe, right? So all he had to do was go to them and say, print me some dollars, or give me some euros or whatever. They would have done it because they understood that they needed money in to get their payout. So that was Madoff's biggest mistake, was not just printing the money himself, which is what's being done now by JP Morgan to keep the gold price down. How about that? And Biden does that. He just keeps printing. And he doesn't understand it either. It's going to zero. Although I had a dream Biden his whole basement was full of gold bars. So the idiot president must have understood that, but gold's okay. So I think these guys know that gold's okay, but they won't say anything because they don't want the Ponzi scheme of the dollar to go. And don't forget, that's what this is. This is a Ponzi scheme. This is worth nothing. However, they try to make you think you're with it. You get paid $100,000, you get this. You go buy a house, you use this. You go buy a car, you use this. So you think it has a value, but you don't have a value because it's a scam. The companies have to take it. You go buy a GM, they have to take it. If they didn't take it, it's illegal. They would go to jail because the banks who run the government says, you got to do that because we want to keep printing it. Or they'll buy stocks with it. They'll go, okay, let's everybody buy Tesla. Okay, now we're going to print $10 trillion and we're going to put it in Tesla stock. The stock's going to go up, and when it hits this number, we sell it. And they're doing that every fucking week. It's just disgusting. So what we don't know about is what we're getting fucked with. At least in Madoff, you didn't care. You're getting 15%. I don't care. It's a Ponzi scheme. As long as 15% shows up in my account, fine. When I heard about it, I just laughed at it. I says, you can't earn 15% when the market's 3%. The one thing I learned, if interest rates are 4%, you might get 6 in a real estate trust or an annuity or life insurance. That's it. There's no such thing as 15%. It's impossible to get it. I remember my brother-in-law got scammed by Madoff. And when he told me, well, it's shopping malls, they get a higher interest rate. And I said, no. Somebody give me credit for having a fucking master's in finance and economics, please. So I'm laughing at him for, why didn't you come to me? And I'm sure he lost a ton of money because it was supposed to be in strip malls. And that's how I'm getting a higher rate of interest. And I just laughed at the guy. I said it's impossible to get 15%. Like it's impossible to pick 100% football games. That's what burns me up sometimes. Oh, you had a bad week. You try doing as good as I can do. Good luck. You'll never do it. As much as my brain can figure things out, you can't. So it's just not going to, you can't go 100% in stocks or football or any of this. So that's why Madoff could never, it had to be a scam. You can never pick 15%. However, again, if the idiot would have just went to the Fed, went to JP Morgan, said, print me $1 billion, I'll give you your cut. You see how dishonest JP Morgan is with the gold and everything else he does. This guy's the biggest criminal in the world, JP Morgan. So yeah, they would have printed the money and they would have taken 30, 40%. And it would have just continued and continued and continued. Everybody was buying into it. So, and I'm sure that's happening now with other people, probably with JP Morgan. He goes, oh shit, we'll just print the money. We don't need people to come in. Well, that's kind of what a bank is, right? We'll give you 8%, and they just keep printing money to give out the 8%. I mean, that's probably what most banks are. You get, or if they're nice, they'll give you 3% in your CD or money market. Here's 3%. Well, when we need to pay you, we just print it. And that's the problem with not having gold. You just keep printing this for any reason you can find, and the value goes to zero, which is what's happening. So anybody wanting to talk about it and give me their opinion that paper gold's real, we're not going to have a long conversation. And if you think it's supply and demand, we're not going to have a long conversation. It's not supply and demand. It's not that. This is supply and demand. This is a 100-count Barry Bonds card. This is red label, Barry Bonds, supply and demand. I've got the card. I put it up for sale. I get buyers. The guy with the highest bid wins. That is free market economics, supply and demand. I've got the supply, the demand comes in, we figure out a price, we sell it. That is not what gold is. If you think gold's free market, supply and demand, I got oceanfront property in Detroit for you, even though I hate to say there's no ocean here. But don't tell me that, and don't tell me that the whole world is not going to collapse. The whole world, what's going to happen is the dollar goes out and gold comes in. So the gold, I call it the dollar universe, leaves, and then here comes the gold universe in, and that's what brics is. And that's why the U.S. is collapsing, and that's why I don't want to hear any of that shit. It's collapsing. It is. It's not maybe. It's not well. It's already collapsed. We're in the middle of a big recession. It's already here. Just because the clowns don't want to tell you that because they want to vote. They want to get elected in because they get to steal all the money if they get elected in. Why would anybody run for Congress or the president? Why would anybody run for president? You got to be out of your fucking mind. But there's no so you can get all the kickbacks. Oh, we're going to print you $1 million a month. Da, da, da. And I'm, oh, good. Okay, I'll be a senator. Oh, and you want me to vote any way you want me? Fine, I'll vote anyway. It's so corrupt, government, but it's all run by banks. And it's all run by people that aren't elected. Is now the problem is you would think they'd want sound money, and you'd think they'd be in gold. That's the answer. You can't, if you keep printing the money, it would be worthless. So these idiots don't even understand that. I was listening to Mark McGuire talk about, is it a plan? And the guest was agreeing. And I go, there's no way these guys planned this. This is the stupidest plan you would ever have. Why would you print? Why would you keep printing? Why would your plan be to keep printing money and watch it go to zero? And then that's it. Your plan would be to buy gold. Not CBDCs, which are still paper money, but to get all the gold. That would be your plan. That's what China and Russia are doing. They're going, fuck gold at 2000. We can't. Putin must be laughing. Oh, it's 1970s. I went down $10 today. He's rolling over and buy another $1 million. That's why the ruble is so inflated, because they print enough ruble to buy gold. They don't care about it. Anyway, that's what's happening. So please understand those concepts. If you don't understand those concepts, talk to me and say, what don't you get about this? Because this is 100% accurate of what's happening. This is not a guess. This is not an opinion. This is what's happening. Now, most people don't understand it. They don't understand that that this is worthless. They don't understand that this is worthless. Right? They don't get have no value. This is a piece of paper. And that's why prices are up, costs are way up, because the dollar's worthless. And if I was a vendor, I wouldn't even take it. I would just take silver and gold. You want my service? I should sell Teaserking. I should say, you want my football picks? Give me 2 ounces of silver. It's $100 a week. So give me 2 ounces of silver. You want the whole year? Give me a half ounce of gold. And that's it. But I kind of do it anyway. As soon as I get the money, I run and buy gold and silver with it. So in a sense, that's exactly what I'm doing. But when I go work for people and I try to explain gold to them, it goes over their heads. I go to myself, how are these people running companies? They don't understand the basics, that everything they're doing in dollars is worthless, that it's gone, that you need to be buying gold and you shouldn't even be working. So if I'm running General Motors or Ford, I ain't even producing a car. I'm taking all my money, closing my plants and buying as much gold as I can and just wait for the Russia's to come up, and I'll make more money by $1 billion than I could make making cars, especially in inflation, especially with the high interest rates. Who can afford them anyway? Yeah, my $35,000, my $24,000 Camry is now $35,000 at 10%. And now my $400 a month went up to $900, $1,000 a month. Who's buying? Nobody. Now is not the time to be selling cars. Now is the time to be buying gold, and people don't get that. But that's what I would do. That's your retirement. You do not need to buy funeral stuff. You don't need to be buying life insurance. Just buy gold. Gold's your life insurance. I keep telling my girls, I said, just let me hold on. I don't want to sell gold at 2,000. Just wait. We'll be rich. We'll sell it when it hits 50,000 an ounce, and we'll have a nice place to live in about 6 months to a year, maybe less, maybe January, maybe March, April. Then we'll be fine. Just wait for that. But people don't understand the switch from the paper universe to the gold universe. So when you hear like Egon go, well, you don't want the gold price to go up because that'll mean the dollar will drop. Yeah, but then we'll all go to gold. That'll be the key. Hello, that's how we survive is everything goes to gold from the dollar. And if people aren't smart enough to buy gold now, well, when it's 50,000 an ounce, you're going to be buying gold with what? When this collapses, you can't buy gold with it. It doesn't have a value. So I'm judging the fine line between keeping some dollars out so I don't have to cash my gold in and buying as much gold as I can before the dollar goes to zero. Or in my words, the Titanic sinks. It's hit the iceberg. It's sinking. It's the same scenario. I got to get to the lifeboat before the ship sinks. I got to get off the Titanic and into the gold before this goes to zero. Problem is we don't know exact timing, which I get asked a lot, which will be soon. We can see what's happening. We can explain it with brics and the ruble going gold back. We can explain it with Russia having 32,000 tons of it and China with 60,000 tons of it. We could see they get it, and that's where we're headed. And they'll sell everything in gold, and they'll have a gold standard on their dollars. You don't need the actual physical gold coin. They'll have this with the gold leaf on it saying this is redeemable for $5 of gold, and this will be backed by gold. That's what should happen, and that's what will happen, and that's what you'll do. So you'll carry this around, and you'll pay your rent, your food with the gold-backed currency. You price everything in gold price currency. So eggs will be 1/10 of an ounce of silver. And silver will not be $25 an ounce. If you think that's the real price, again, I got oceanfront property in Detroit for you. So understand, use your logic. This is not real. This is all Madoff. This makes Madoff look like a Boy Scout because he didn't really fuck with people. He just took his money and he gave you something, right? You got 15%. So I mean, here you're getting nothing. Right? So the government's fucking you 100 times worse than Madoff. If you're in Madoff, you give them 100 grand, you're getting 15% a month or whatever, however you paid it out. But you were getting money back. This used to be worth $1, worth 2 cents. The government's fucking you. That's the difference. The government is fucking you by printing this and printing it to zero. That's the difference. The government's fucking us. Madoff never fucked. I wasn't in Madoff. I didn't get affected. If I was in Madoff, I would have got 15% a month or whatever. And I could have get like a crap game. I could take my points off. If I'm playing craps, I know the 7's coming. So I play the 6, 8, and 9. And when I've hit it a few times, I feel the 7's coming. I say, give me the money back. And they give me the money back. And I've won 4 or 5 hits. And here comes the 7, and everybody loses with the 7 except for the don't players. So you can play no 10. You can play the don't on the 10 and 4, and you get 2-to-1 odds, and you hope the 10 and the 7 hits before the 10 and 4. I've done that before also. If it's a real bad board and the 7s keep hitting, I play craps streakwise. If I see a bunch of 6s and 8s, I play the numbers. If I see a bunch of 2, 3, 12s, and 7s, I play the don't and I win either. I just let the streak tell me how to play it. But you can play don't, no 10. Put 100, you get 200 back because it's 2-to-1. 7 hits, you make 200 because there's no 10. So anyway, that's how you play that. So in retirement, you don't want stocks and bonds. Get the fuck out. You want to be in gold and silver. And it blows my mind. None of these planners or retirement guys talk gold or silver. Buy stock, buy dividend stocks. You're retired. You need a cash flow, a monthly flow of income. No, you don't. You just need gold. When gold goes from 2,000 to 50,000, do you really need a flow of 3% Coca-Cola dividend? Yeah, I can get 200 or I can get 50,000. What's the better one? Plus, not only that, but there won't be dividend stocks anymore because there won't be stocks or they'll have to be priced in gold, right? So the stock market will be priced in gold and silver. So Coca-Cola at $60 a share turns into a quarter ounce a share, a quarter ounce of gold. That's Coca-Cola. So everything changes. Are you going to get a dividend on that? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But if I just buy all the gold and silver now and then wait for the price to go up, do I need dividends? Probably not. I probably am doing well without the dividends when gold's 50,000 an ounce. Oh, Howard, how can gold go to 50,000 an ounce? What are you, crazy? Look, it's had 2,000. Yeah, that's the paper price. So we can continue to argue that there's really this is bullshit, the paper price. We don't really have a physical price. We know the demand's going to go through the roof once JP Morgan collapses, which is based on no more gold, which is based on Russia, China with the BRICS. Once that happens, we know it's price has to go up because they need to print so many BRICS dollars and Russian dollars. They can't nearly do that at 2,000. They've got to raise it to 20, 30,000 an ounce. Once it gets into the physical market where there's now I've got an ounce of gold, how much you give me? And it's not paper fixed anymore. It's now physical. I'll give you 25,000. I'll give you 50. I even told my guy at the coin store, when gold hits 50,000, silver should be about 5. Can I bring in 10 ounces of silver to buy gold? And the guy looked at me and he's like, well, I think what we'll do is make you sell the silver first, take the money and buy the gold. And I'm like, why? What's the difference? Why don't you just take the 10 ounces of silver and give me the ounce of gold? So that's what'll happen as we go. Question, how much is enough? There's not enough that's enough. As much as you can buy is enough. Because we don't know, we're going into gold and silver. So we don't know how much we need. We don't know the true value. I'm assuming 50,000 an ounce gold, but I don't know what that's going to buy. That's why when it turns into gold as the value, I can go buy a Mercedes with an ounce of gold. That's $100,000 car. Now I know what gold's valued at. It's as much as I want, so I can buy more stuff. I want to have a lot of silver and gold because the more I have, the more I can buy, and I can't get it again. So I can buy gold at 2,000 an ounce, but if I wait, and now it's 50,000 an ounce, I can't afford 50,000 for 1 ounce unless I sell my silver, which is 5,000 an ounce. 10 of those will buy the ounce of gold. But once it gets out of the dollar and gold starts being the money is gold, there is no more dollar. It's not 50,000 ounce anymore. It's an ounce of gold. It's worth a Mercedes. It's worth a house. And that's what will happen. And then I'll have to come out with a medium of exchange, and they'll start making $10 gold note, a $10 gold note, whatever that buys is whatever it buys. And that'll be supply and demand. So you'll be able to buy a whole lot. So you'll want as much as you can get because that's where we're headed. We know this is worthless. So just use logic. Do I want this, which is worthless, or do I want the gold and silver, which I know is going to go eventually get priced in gold and silver will be the price, not dollars. So it'll go $50,000 will buy you the ounce of gold to no dollars will buy you the ounce of gold because the dollar is gone and the gold. Now, I assume what they'll do first is come out with a US dollar number 2. They're coming out. I know they're coming out with a Euro 2 and a Canadian 2. So they're going to try to blame Putin, and they're going to come out with new dollars and say, well, these Putin's printing, he'll blame Putin, whatever. And they'll come out with new dollars. You watch 2024. And they won't be backed by gold. They'll be worthless. Don't get conned. They will have the same value as these dollars, but they'll try to make you believe they don't. Anyway, it's as much gold as you can eat. It's just buy as much gold and silver as you can. That's the key. That's that's the whole point of it, right? I mean, you can look back to the Romans and the pyramids and all the way through Spain, France, England. It's always about gold. It never loses its value. You can never print it to zero. You can't print it. It's always what kings have. It's the best money to have, and it happens to be an asset. Do you think this is an asset? An asset's something of value. This is an asset. It's worth, let's say, $75 for this bottle of Canadian Club. Is this an asset? This is worth 2 cents. Is this an asset? Yes, it is, but this used to be $1. It's now worth 2 cents. It's a depreciable asset, meaning it loses value. This is an asset that goes down in value. Is that what you want to own, or do you want to own gold, which goes up in value, which you can never get fucked with? As long as you own the physical, it can never go to zero. They can't print it. The government can't fuck you over with it. So right now, the government's doing a good job of fucking everybody over by printing it, stealing the money, and then you're left with something where, you go to the grocery store, it's $50. You're not buying anything. It's a joke. I was so excited yesterday. I needed a chair. These chairs are so cheap. So I bought a chair. And then I saw my mouthwash. I get the Crest mouthwash, the blue, and I, gargle with it. And, it's great for my teeth. I haven't had a cavity in 10 years. And they're on sale. It's like $7.50 now. It used to be $4 or $5. Then it went up. Now it's $7.50. Well, it was on sale 2 for $10. I was so excited. Like, oh my God, I bought 2 of them, of course. But that's how crazy it is. Aluminum foil, $4 or $5. Bananas and apples are okay, but even my broccoli's like $2.99 a pound now on broccoli. So I don't notice the inflation as much because I buy so much vegetables. My hamburgers are still cheap when I go to the meat store, which I can't figure out if I'm actually getting meat or something disguised as meat. The sign says 86% sirloin, but is it really 86? Is it maybe 60%? I mean, why is it still $5 a pound? The steaks are still 10. Chicken I can still get for $2.99 for chicken breast. So I don't know. In my mind, okay, this is fine. It's still a reasonable price. But all I know is I went out to eat. I told you at the Italian, and what was a $15, $16 chicken parmesan was $22, $23. They're adding 3% for the credit card. And the lady tried to rip me off with my bill, giving me the wrong bill on purpose. But I mean, so fuck that. If I'm going to eat there, I can go to the grocery store and get chicken breast and cook it, marinate it, and as good as they can do it, even better, because their sauce was horrible. And so for $8, I'm getting 4 of these meals that I'm paying $23 for. And with the credit card, I don't get charged 3% at the grocery store. If it is, it's hidden in the price of the good, but it's not individual. So I don't know how long that Italian place is going to be open. I would say it'll close very soon. Like I tell the rib guy, you got to meet the market. You can't make ribs $45 for the ribs. They won't. People will not. We're the market. We decide what we'll pay for. And as this is going down in value, it takes more to buy rent and more to buy food. And so we don't get more of this. So therefore, we can't spend $40 on ribs because we're not getting more money from our job or anything else. So therefore, we have less. Therefore, we need to do that. So if that's the point, if the restaurants or the companies think they can raise the prices because their costs went up, they're out of their fucking minds. Because we won't pay. You're going to buy a Camry at $35,000 at $1,000 a month? Hell no. Who's got $1,000 a month to buy just a regular Camry or Corolla or Ford or GM that were $25,000, and I was paying a $470 car payment. I couldn't afford $900, so nobody's going to be buying that shit. So you can raise the price. You're not going to make a sale. All these companies are going to go out because if your costs went up and you think you can just raise the price to the consumer, us, and we just got this extra money. We don't have a printing press. We can't print it. That's the problem. That's how we're getting fucked. This is worthless. So you've got to get out of that into gold. On the other hand, gold should be spiking the same as everything else. It's being held down, so they make you think that gold isn't spiking, but it is. So behind the scenes, in every other country, gold's hitting record highs. But since it's priced in dollars, that's the problem. So once we get it out of dollars, then we're good. That's soon to happen. Anyway, that's economics. Just try to make that clear. Understand paper gold from physical gold. Paper gold is derivatives. It's not a real price. It's not a supply demand price. This is supply demand. I have the supply. You demand it. We work on a payment that's fair for both. $20, no. $50, no. $100, yes. Okay, you got it for $100. That's how a free market works. The supply and demand match, and that is not what's going on in gold and silver. Keep in mind they are much higher than they appear, and that is not an opinion. So just wait for it. It'll happen soon. I know it's frustrating. Oh, why isn't it happening today? Because the government doesn't want this to go to zero, and they don't want the price to go up, or they know if it goes up, this will go to zero. So they're fighting to keep it because they all have this. They don't have any gold, and they're fighting because once this is gone, the government's gone. And maybe we have a chance, although all these idiots who are running it are not in the government, like the Warren Buffets and these other Bill Gates and these idiots, George Soros, who are running it, are not in the government and not elected. So that's our fear. So that's why if you have gold, you have gold and they don't know you have it. They can't track it. So that's the point. All right, time for dinner. We'll talk pro tomorrow. I have a couple of games already posted, and after going through this today, I'll look at my injuries, and then off we go. Off we go with the picks. Tomorrow will be Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Basically, we got to look at the quarterbacks. Is it Tannehill? Is it Levis? Is it Trubisky or Pickett? A Trubisky and Levis or Tannehill, we go under. A Pickett and a Tannehill, we might take Tennessee. The dog, we'll have to see. Judging by the -3, it looks like it'll be Pickett back in. Trubisky's so bad. How is this guy in the league and he's so bad and he's on a team? How can this be? Wow. And I find the offensive and defensive coordinators are horrible. I'm watching like the Houston game or the Indy game, and there's nobody within 5 yards of the receiver when they catch it. They're catching it and running. It's 3rd and 15. They throw an 8-yard pass. The guy runs for the other 7 without problems. And if he doesn't make it, it's 4th and 1, and then they go for it, wherever it is on the field. I mean, I don't know what I'm watching. It's not football. So I'm adjusting as we go because this is something much different than I've been handicapping for 35 years or 45 years. I don't know, 77, 87, 97, 07. God, 46 years of handicapping. And we do a lot of winning. See, we figure things out and we adjust and adapt as the season goes. That's why, like, the reason I'm successful is I can now, Cale's an over team. Stanford's now an over team. And I can bet them over. That's the adjustment I make that most people aren't capable of. They just see the game. Oh, Stanford stinks. They might stink, but they can score. And Cal, they might stink, but they can. We had a big bet on Cal last week with USC. That was a lock, and it went to 100, and it was 66. So they're trying to get you off of USC by posting a 75 with Washington. And I don't know that they go over that easily. All right, www.teaserking.com. That's where you can buy the picks. You get the password. You go in, you see the picks. Get my email if you have questions. I want to play a 5-team teaser. What do you suggest? How should I bet this? My bankroll, how much do I bet? I put units to show different strengths, so you should bet it differently. So I might put 9 units, 11, 15, 20. It's all irrelevant. It's just basically this is how much on a 21 unit you should bet. And that's up to your bankroll and a 9-unit and 11-unit. So you should not bet the same amount on all my picks. Now, if they're all 11 units, then you're going to bet your 11 unit as you build your bankroll. But if I put it, the locks are usually 25, 27 units. I want you to bet more on those. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm doing. And that's how I'm successful at teasers. Anyway, have a good day. www.teaserking.com. I will talk to you tomorrow at the same time, about 1 o'clock-ish. And we will talk pro and go over some of the college. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a nice night. Thank you.